if you leave it to the individual's choice to take that vaccine and it doesn't work, just like it seems to not be working, you have a lot of people protesting these vaccines.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Don't mean it actually doesn't be. You have your standards of how a vaccine
Do
works.
bulletproof
My standards are
vests not
higher
work?
than you. I have higher
Okay. I'm sorry.
Get to your point. Spit it out. Say the rest.
Mullet Man's angry at me.
Yeah,
So
go ahead,
what I'm
stupid.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this brand new episode of Hippy Dippy Recruitment. Let's start with a quick round of intros. So tell people who you are, where they can find you, and everything. And perfect. Maddie is joining us right now.
Absolute. I'm amazed.
Perfect timing.
Thank you.
You know what? You
Maddie,
start.
for being here.
Maddie, how are you doing?
Start with me?
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah.
great. Oh my gosh, hello. I'm Maddie Cakes. I am a leftist streamer slash voice of a generation slash supermodel slash real hair haver. And I'm really excited to be here. No, in real life, I'm a political strategist slash creative director of an agency working with multiple senatorial and congressional campaigns this cycle. So, yeah, real life Politico. Hi.
Hi.
I love all of you, especially CTV.
Love you too, Maddie.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Have Big Take. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me back on. Nobody really gives a shit about who I am, but you can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Half Baked Takes, and on Twitter. And I'll pass it off. Thank you again, Geek, CTV, whole Hippy Dippy crew.
Happy to have you on board. I'm going to throw it to MythicPolitics. How are you doing? I think you're muted.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Okay, so we're doing introductions. Hi, I am a political streamer. I stream 7 days a week over at twitch.tv/MythicPolitics. I'm writing a book on political conspiracies. I self-identify as a communist, and I'm here to bring joy and merriment, and hopefully bring a couple of germane points here and there.
All right. Splonker.
Score. My name is TheSplonker. I'm here. I'm part of the Chance of Flurry podcast. You could, Flurry is spelled Fluri, and you can find me there. I'm very libertarian, so I would say more so anarchist, individualist seems to be my my leaning. Canadian. And we're going to have some fun. I'm a fun lover, actually. This is my first and foremost quality that I hold is a fun lover. Let's have some fun, everybody.
All right. Big Ugly Jim.
I am Big Ugly Jim. On Twitch, I am Big Ugly Jim because there was already more than one Big Ugly Jim. I'm a shitty leftist, libertarian socialist. I live in Canada. And I'm wearing CTV style glasses, so I gotta be cool.
Yeah. Chance of Flurry.
Yeah, so my name is Carl. I'm the other half of the Chance of Flurry podcast. Me and TheSplonker here are the Canadian Tag Team Champions. So you guys watch out for that.
We hold the belt.
Check us out. We're an anarchist podcast. He's a little bit more on the right side. I'm a little bit more on the left side, so we got some contention there. So it's interesting, and we like to have fun, and we keep the jokes coming. So check it out.
Happy to have you on board.
Wait a second. You said you're the tag team champs?
That's right. Tag team champions.
Where's that at?
It doesn't have to be official, my friend. I mean,
Not in any country that matters. Not in any country that matters.
Saying like is this like
Okay.
just like another organization? Because look, the fact of the matter is, there's only the fucking Hippy Dippy belt. If you don't win a fucking belt in the Hippy Dippy,
that's a singles.
I don't tell you, shut up. Hey, tag team's coming up, bro.
All right. Okay, this show is going to be
tag team's coming up, bro.
There are tag team divisions in this.
This Friday, as a matter of fact, there's gonna be a match. Maybe you catch it. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Oh, I see.
let's get this show back on track. Alistair, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. My name is Alex. I am a first responder, as well as pretty much that's my life. So I don't really stream. I mean, I'm a gamer first, so I'm going back to games mainly, and I'm here to save lives. That's what I do.
Yeah. And last but not least, CTV, who is gone now. All right.
What the fuck? Holy fucking shit. You know where you can find me in the Infinity Woods, CTV, the Alpha Wolf, right? I'm over here leading shit all the fucking time. You fucking know it. I fucking know it. Everybody fucking knows it. Now, tonight, you fuckers better bring your motherfucking 100% meme game, because I am definitely gonna shit. I'm building a desktop. I'm handling 5 fucking dogs and a fucking wife. I got a lot of shit going on over here. So if I come in, right, it's gonna be hot, fucking hot, right? So if the energy drops down, you can expect me to do that. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a nice conversation. Sound good? All right, bye.
All right. With that being said, let's go over the rules real quick. So first of all, nothing TOS. Obviously, everyone wants to keep their platform, so please respect that. Respect everyone's identity in general. And yeah, also, most important rule that I always forget, when I speak, no one else speak. It's going to be to moderate. So if you hear a French accent, you know that, you shut up. All right, for the topic, it's going to go introduction, period where you can engage, closing statement. During introduction and closing, you cannot interrupt. The last time you can address a topic is during the opening of the next one. And with that, I think I covered pretty much everything. Yeah, so with that being said, let's jump into the first topic, which is basically React content. So let me go back to this. All right, what is your general position on React ND content? Do you consider yourself a React ND? If someone reacts to content without your permission, are they stealing? Is exposure a legitimate form of payment for the time and effort it takes to create original content? And with that, we're going to start with MythicPolitics.
Yeah, basically, I'm just a full-fledged React Andy. I'm a communist, and I steal other people's surplus value by reacting to their shit, in a monetized fashion on Twitch, 100%. I don't really believe in consumer-side activism. I don't think you can will yourself as an individual to make broad, overarching things, big overarching changes systemically. I think broadly that it's up to Twitch and YouTube to work out something wherein there's some equitable agreement for compensation for users, or ban it in entirety. But the mechanism of streaming is such that the watching content is such a cheat code. There's so much utility in it. I don't know how you would get around it otherwise.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Maddie.
Yeah. So I am a bit of a mixed bag on React Andy content, because the reality is that, as we can see with the popularity of that type of genre on stream, it's popular. People like it. It's entertaining. Also, I think the notion that content has to be good only if it's 100% original and unique is silly. I mean, we can see in mainstream entertainment, things are remade and remade and remade all the time. That sort of meta way of viewing content is super popular. People like that. However, in the politics space and in streaming, there's one issue I have with it. And I think what ultimately React content does is it kind of dilutes the potential that streamers could have on any sort of real life political discourse. And what I think it also does is incentivize this cyclical drama farming, where every single week there's a new thing that people are all hyped up on. And the only reason they're hyped up on it is because, like piranhas, they see, or, like a shark, they see blood in the water and they're like, I can make content off of this. I can make money off of this. Lather, rinse, repeat. So people like it. I think there's definitely a place for it. But if you are going to consider yourself a serious politics streamer, or someone who cares about making a positive impact in the political space, I say this wearing a hat that says fucking freezing and blue hair, I think you have to be cognizant that if you are going out there and responding or reacting to drama shit and shit that has no impact on the real world, that's the seriousness with which the majority of the people are going to view your contribution to the political sphere. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Splonker.
Howdy. Yes, again, I had plugged the podcast. I'm from Chance of Flurry, and that's basically what we do. If I were to put it in a percentage, it would be probably 80% content we do is react to Andy, what is the term we put it. But other than that, we try to do other stuff. But yeah, react to Andy is something that I'm for, definitely. I mean, why? I don't think, especially, you're putting content out there. We're talking especially, I believe, in the realm of political streamers, actual other streamers reacting to other streamers. There's something else to be said about, restreaming an HBO special, I guess. And even there, I think, there's something to be said about transformative content. But if we're talking about just react to Andy's, I do think the last part of this little exercise is exposure a legitimate form of payment? As a small content creator, if you think I'm garbage, if you think I'm bullshit, if you think the shit I say is ridiculous, and you react to it, I hold the opinion that I appreciate it. I appreciate you reacting to my things. And it is exposure. I'm not expected any form of payment for the dumb stuff I put on YouTube. It's a free platform already. Whatever I put on the platform it's on a free platform, so I shouldn't expect any form of actual repayment. And the exposure, I think, is legitimate. I appreciate it, and I think it depends. So again, when it comes to reacting to other streamers, you're not supposed to be expected some repayments. You should look at your audience and maybe offer them something, maybe some merch, maybe something that's beneficial to them, so that they can benefit and support your content. But other than that, React Andes are other forms of content that other people, such as myself, appreciate, and I think I'm definitely for it. I don't want to take. I'm good.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Big Ugly Jim.
All right, so I'm like an old school punk rock kid, and that whole movement thrived by people sharing information and sharing music and sharing and talking about stuff behind the scenes that that made the punk world go. So when it comes to like modern day, in my mind, it's sort of the same idea of like, I'm not making a mixtape, but I'm reacting to something and I'm sharing that with my viewers. I'm a small streamer Andy, though, like the smallest streamer Andy. And so I don't expect that everyone agrees with me. I don't expect that, like if I was to get highlighted on Hassan, I'd be like, oh my fucking shit happened. And if other people get highlighted on Hassan, he's probably like, I don't need this shit. So like my view is pretty unimportant, but at the end of the day, like to me, it's all spreading the word.
All right. Have Baked Take.
Yeah, so I'm not a streamer, but I'm going to give you a Greta Thunberg. If you give a fuck about other people reacting to your content, how dare you? How dare you give a fuck if somebody wants to take your dumbass statement or your smart statement and amplify that? You should. I'm not saying all good PR or all good press is, or all press is good press, but shit, we are all out here trying to amplify our voices. So if that's being done through people reacting to content, then fucking so be it. I think you should be applauding that. And anybody that is bitching about it probably has gotten their britches a little bit too big. They're probably on a level where they're making enough money on YouTube that it shouldn't matter anyway. So I just think it's a dumbass thing to bitch about, but that's just me.
All right. And I'm going to throw it to Alesto.
So my personal opinion about React Andes, I'm just gonna bring back to high school. Everyone in high school did it. You either mature out of it or you don't. And honestly, you should be able to do whatever you want to do. I don't believe in full censorship. I don't even believe in partial censorship to an extent. But I do have one important question after everyone says their things. We're all reacting to Andy. Who's Andy?
No, we're all Andy.
Yeah, that's a Spartacus moment. Chance of Flurry.
Yeah, my view is I'm pro piracy. I think that copyright and patent laws are BS. I believe that we should be allowed to do what we want with the content or the property that we have, and that nobody should be allowed to have a monopoly on something like that. That's my view. That's it.
All right, and last but not least, CTV.
So I'm in a room full of fucking communists, huh? Is that what I'm seeing? A room full
Taste
of
the
fucking
boot.
communists. Shut the fuck up whenever I'm talking, damn it! Now, room full of fucking communists. Nobody thinks that fucking work and coding has any kind of fucking value, and that we just need to just give away people's fucking work. What the fuck are y'all talking about with piracy? Look, everything is a reaction. You know how I know this? Because when I see a fucking bear walking in the fucking woods, even if I freeze, guess what? It's a fucking reaction. Everything is a fucking reaction. Everybody's reacting all the fucking time. The only difference is how you actually look at it. I come to the fucking internet. I don't give a fuck about publicity. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I come here. I have conversations with my friends, right? And I have a good fucking time. I've got a great fucking community of people around me that enjoy the exact same fucking thing. They're like, hey, I'm just here. I'm on the internet. This is kind of fucking cool, right? Kind of show me the way. Lots of new people on the fucking internet just wanting to find out exactly what all this stuff is about, right? We got some people to look at it like they're trying to create a legitimate business of content creation, yada, yada, yada. That's a financial conversation. That's not a actual communicating with people conversation, because as soon as you start allowing the money to affect what it is that you're saying, then guess what? You're corrupted. Just be your fucking self. That's all you gotta fucking do. So that's the reaction. Everything's a fucking reaction. If you don't like reacting, go live in a fucking basement. Wait, you'd still be reacting to the cold! Fuck! Everything's a reaction.
God damn, and with that being said, you can engage.
I just want to thank CTV for giving this topic the seriousness it deserves.
You're here.
It's just really refreshing. And
I don't even know what he said.
no, I think, but there is one angle of this I do want us to maybe consider, because I think, we focused more on the angle of whether there should be like some sort of additional compensation versus exposure, or whether like reacting to someone's content is somehow like co-opting that content and taking advantage of their labor, their contribution, whatever, and then they see nothing from it. I also maybe want to even ask, like, because something that it's happened to me, it's happened to a lot of people, is when reacting streamers do it in a way where it then directs people to harass and like go after a streamer because they disagree, or maybe there was like some personal beef between two streamers, and it ends up sort of becoming like a bullying vehicle. Because that's something I wonder about. It's like I think
deserve
it's,
to be bullied.
no, I don't think so. So here's
No
the
one?
thing. Yeah, I don't just like here. I'll
You're gonna
I'll
Nazi?
give you an event. Say, I'm not done, so you can talk, and then yeah. So like I had
We can
people
interrupt
sending
people at
me
this point.
threats.
What do you
I
mean you're
had
not
people
done?
sending me. You can interrupt. You just kind of look like an asshole.
Yeah, I
so if you
never
let me
said I was.
finish, then maybe you'll look a lot nicer.
Wait, I always
Also,
get
thank
told
you
the
for your
females don't
service. We
finish
love our
them.
first responders. So anyway, yeah, and what I'm saying is this: I'm like, where do we draw the line between when you're commentating on someone's point of view on some piece of their content, you're laying out like your perspective? When does it transform from that to targeted harassment, where you're going after someone and just like espousing vitriol to the point where that translates to like real world harm. To
Like,
As long as you're not being Hassan, just sitting around and watching the other person's shit and not actually providing any like content on your end and not providing some reaction. The whole thing is you're providing a reaction to the content. So I don't know how you can give a fuck about this.
I think I give lots of fucks, and I'll give an example.
but what
So
if- what
earlier,
if a
earlier
streamer-
last year. Well, here I'll give a real world example. Then I promise we'll go to you because I don't want to monopolize time. So in my case, like people were like reacting to this like personal beef I had with another bigger streamer, which like I didn't think was that like big a deal, but they fought the streamers' battles for them. And then I had someone literally email my work trying to get me fired because they had seen React content on something and like decided to take it into their own hands. That's the kind of like real life implication. And if I didn't have a boss that was chill
Well,
as
that
fuck,
I'm against.
that could have cost me my job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know, but
that's
that's going to happen.
okay.
But that's going to happen with any content. That's going to happen with any content. That's
No,
not
but this
exclusive
happens
to reactionary content. You actually have more.
reaction.
No, I
You
think Maddie
probably
brings
have
up
more.
I think Maddie brings up the fairest point of everything, right? And what it is like, where's that line? So I think the line
And
is
that's what
it crosses that line whenever you start trying to find out what CTV's social security number is, where I fucking have been employed,
Yeah,
all of
you
these
know
things that I do in fucking real life. Look,
Okay, can we-
that's the line. Right? So how do we get people to understand that, like, hey, we're all on the internet. We all need to be able to express our opinions, especially when we're on our own homes. And this is just being out on the airwaves without taking it to the fucking point of like, I'm going to get so stuck in my fucking feels, right? Instead of understanding that like somebody else has an opinion that I don't fucking like. Oh, fucking well, right? And then not trying to go after how that person's making their fucking money. You know what I mean? That's just, it's all silly shit.
No, I understand. I just don't know how this is exclusive to reactionary content, right? So this goes across the board, like for everything. Like I don't want people fucking doxing people across the board, whether they're making reaction content or they're making this panel shit. I don't care. But when we talk about is it like good for people to expose other people's shit through reaction content? I don't think that is linked to like doxing and then like the shit that Maddie's talking about.
It's those are separate issues.
Yeah. I guess I'm not talking necessarily about like doxing in isolation. I'm talking about where React Andy content, and here's where it's specific to React Andy content. It's when you are singling out someone and specifically re-airing their content, specifically reacting to their stuff so that it provides you with a vehicle to say like really heinous shit about them. And I'm sorry, Dan, about Mr. D for like being serious about what was supposed to be a fun topic.
You would do the same thing if there was a Nazi and there's Pat
No,
King.
I wouldn't, because I don't, and I haven't.
Okay,
There's a lot of people, you know, and Richard Spencer, you wouldn't have any problem having a campaign of people just going in his chat and telling him how much of an asshole he is, because that's what it sounds like
That's like literally against TOS though. You can't be brigading people in a negative fashion.
Yeah,
you can't
no, we can't
onboard.
do that.
Yeah, I'm not talking about TOS. TOS sucks, right? But I'm just
Sorry,
saying,
I'm
you
speaking.
still do it.
French.
You still do
French.
it when it comes.
French.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. French. Okay. I just want to reel it back into the topic of React content because I think we went way too deep into a rabbit hole and everything. Just want to.
Sorry.
All right. No. Anyway, so
I
who
love when
wants to
people
take
watch
it?
Top Chef.
Raise your hand.
I love when people watch Hell's Kitchen and just like sit there watching TV. It's like you're on the couch with them and you have a buddy.
Exactly. You get to
to
see
watch
somebody
all this
beautiful.
great
You get to
content.
look at Hassan. You get to see a beautiful man and Hassan watch Hell's Kitchen, which is like two things a lot of people enjoy. So
We're talking about
No,
either React
that's the
content where
problem.
we're criticizing someone's point of views and then just encouraging people to see your point of view, that this guy's a piece of shit, you know, and we can do that. That's a lot of people do that, and a lot of people encourage that. Yeah, I don't encourage doxing. I don't encourage the attacking people's workplaces. None of that I encourage. But I do encourage people to watch other people and react to them and give their point of views as to, you know, how they would debate their arguments and whatnot. That this is all good content. People are always wondering, something just happened. I'm wondering what Vaush thinks about what just happened right now. I want to know his opinion on what just happened. These are all reaction streams. It's all beneficial to me. The doxing and stuff, obviously, I think we all disagree with that. Come on.
CTV,
I
are you
feel like,
It's illegal, right?
real quick, CTV, are you linking this like because when you make reaction content, naturally the audience of the one person is going to go and like try to harass who, maybe not harass, but they're going to go after whoever they made the reaction content about? Is that what you're saying?
It's like this, right? Whenever you're online, think, especially like say in this world of react content, which is a lot of what we do here in Hippy Dippy. Imagine yourself in the wrestling arena. You're the bad guy. There's going to be that asshole in the audience that throws a drink on the person or something like that, even though it's just a fucking show. Quit taking this shit so fucking serious. That's kind of. But that's that right there illustrates the kind of idea that I'm talking about, right?
You know better than anybody that a person's audience's reaction and their and shit they do to other people is not the fault of the person who
absolutely. But that's where like I take a different approach whenever it comes to my community specifically, and I tell them like, hey guys, I'm not about that shit. If you're doing that shit, like the only thing that we've ever done over here is we will like raid into somebody's channel, like either through a raid or just open up their stream and then put a bunch of wolf howls in the chat just to let them know that we've been by there. You know what I mean? So like, but it's always with people that I know, and I feel like they'd be cool with that ahead of time. If they weren't, then I'd be like, well, you know, like I kind of feel like it's a silly thing to do. You know what I mean?
I was just curious on if this is how you were linking those two things, because it just feels like that it's two separate discussions, right? So like, is it cool to make reactionary content, and then obviously nobody wants anybody going out?
Well, it goes back to what I said to begin with, though, is everything is a reaction. I think that a lot of times that people allow their more visceral reactions to things to drive their rational thoughts, and that's where it gets to be kind of stupid, right? You're supposed to be able to intake the information, maybe experience your emotional reaction to it, and then be able to take a step back and go, hey, this is how this situation is actually going. You know what I mean? Instead of being that asshole in the audience throwing the fucking drink.
Maybe the real React dandies were the friends we made along the way.
Oh God.
I agree with CTV broadly that it's upon the streamer to make sure that you're not encouraging hateful behavior. I've seen, specifically, not to call him out, I'm a fan of Haas, I like what he does, but I've seen a lot of downstream shittiness between him and Bad Empanada. Beefs, grudges, little petty disagreements can be weaponized in the fan bases, how the fandoms clash, if not inherently immediately on Twitch, downstream on Twitter and other stuff, other things that can lead to threats, weird TOS, like a stalking, weird behavior downstream. So I think it's, if you're going to do react content, especially in an explicitly angry way where you're like snapping, you're trying to dunk on someone, especially of a polarized viewpoint, I think you have to do it responsibly.
Yeah, watch what you say.
My take. Yeah.
Sure. There's a difference between being a reaction person and being an asshole.
Yeah, I would rather call that person ahead of time and say, hey, dude, I'm probably going to be throwing a lot of shade your way. It's not personal, right? Like this is a business thing at this point because we're interacting in the hippy dippy world or whatever the case is. You know, you have that conversation ahead of time, and then you both kind of figure out along the way, like, where's the line? I'm paying attention to tone. You know what I mean? Like, if you pay attention to tone, matter of fact, 50% of what people are communicating is done through body language, 40% is done through tone, and only 10% of what you're saying is actually being fucking heard. So that right there, like, it breaks it down where, like, a simple, DM ahead of time, or even, hey, let's get on a phone conversation. I want to be able to create some great content with you in this fucking sphere. This is what's going to be happening, X, Y, and Z. You allow people to be able to get comfortable in the space. If you don't have those kinds of conversations, though, you're not building relationships. And if you're not doing that, then what you can expect is someone to take whatever it is that you're giving them in a more personal way. So this is where, like, you pull people in behind the scenes. Hey, this is what's going on, X, Y, and Z. And then when it comes to the fucking show or whatever it is that you're doing, because everything here in the debate world is a reaction to what someone else has said. And then there's also some, reviewing the debates that happen after the fact, as a lot of streamers do from time to time, right? I've done it myself, because I want to catch up with what's going on in the world. That way, whenever I go into another panel, right, conversation is relevant. And so not only am I kind of caught up what's going on, but chat's also caught up as well. But this is also where it's different from Twitch to YouTube, where YouTube content can be edited and fucking made to cut and fit, where streaming is all live all the time. So that's where, for me, I feel like everything is kind of a reaction, and any publicity is good publicity, regardless of what it is that somebody's saying, because I've had people that have tried their best to make and smear me, and then those people that has seen what got said came over to have a conversation with me because they're like, hey, is this guy really like that? And then once they get to kind of know me and the struggles that I've been through and this and that and the other, they end up as a part of my community. So that's the way I look at it.
I think as long as you're not like, because some of the more ridiculous streams I've seen is when like a person's reacting to another person reacting to another person reacting to the person saying the thing. And at that point, I just feel like, when you have two mirrors on each end of the of like a bathroom, and you look through one of them to see the other, and it just becomes this like endless mirror image of yourself. That is what that content turns into. So I feel like if we could all come to a consensus and make a law that says you can only react to someone else reacting, anything beyond that
Make a law.
incurs the death penalty.
There's
I
there's
agree.
that dirty lefty in you. A dirty
I don't
lefty
even
in you
like-
trying to fucking bring in government regulation.
Actually, I don't
Yeah.
even know that that's lefty.
Yeah,
I feel like
Alright,
that's kind
okay,
that could be
but-
like viewed on the
Real
right,
quick, real
depending
quick,
on like
real quick.
that can
It
go
is.
both ways.
It's like
Yeah.
patent law. It's like patent law, and it's like
sorry,
it's shit like
French.
that. So I was just.
I'm going to pull that card again.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Matt. Sorry,
Alright, I'm
Maddie.
muting
I'm
people.
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit hotter on that mute button next time, Geek. I'm sorry, brother.
Okay. I just wanted to basically like turn what Maddie said into a question, which is like basically, let's say you're responsible for like what is fair use and everything. Like, where do you draw the line on what is like good and bad React content? Like, where does it become like really like basically like just leeching out of someone's work?
I
Like,
think it has a lot.
copying.
It does. It has a lot to do with, is that person always just reacting to debates, but they never participate with the community? That's kind of, I think there's a line right there.
Let me ask
I
you a
think
question,
participating in the community, right, I think is one of those like barest of minimums if you're going to be reacting to the content that you could be doing, so that other people know that you're kind of in the space.
But like, really, who cares if somebody is?
Your reaction.
Let's just.
Participation.
What's that?
Nothing. Keep going. Sorry.
Okay. Let's just say that my whole stream is I press play on other people's content and I sit there and I go, ooh, like no one's gonna watch that. No one's gonna give a shit. So eventually I'm gonna lose.
I would. That's basically my point. Is I would double down on that. If we're talking about somebody who's literally just watching a thing and not putting any germane commentary, not making it interesting, it's about content. If somebody can watch a thing and not add any value to it, they're not even entertaining anyways, and it's going to be borne out in the wash where no one's going to watch that anyway. So it's sort of a moot issue. The problem is monetization. It's compensation for the person who made the original content, because if this wasn't entertaining content, if it wasn't compelling and people didn't want to see it, we wouldn't even be talking about it. The issue is that it's the most popular is the problem.
Well,
I know a lot of people who make
it wouldn't be
Wait,
money.
one at a time. Sorry, one at a time. I want to hear from Splonker, and after that I have Bake.
I've seen a lot of people who've made transformative content who from boring content that no one would watch into content that everybody would watch, just because of their interjection, their commentary. So there's that as well. I just wanted to interject as well that they're often helping.
But it doesn't go. But it doesn't go the other way, right, Splonker? Like you don't have really entertaining content, and then you just be a boring person, and you just don't react to it, and then because the problem is Mythic. If maybe I heard. if I heard Mythic wrong, what you said is that the monetary value would be seen for the original creator, which it wouldn't. It would be seen for the fucking person who is just sitting on stream watching that original
Why?
content.
The
Because
person on stream.
that's where the ad revenue would come to. It wouldn't go.
Yeah.
It wouldn't go back to the original creator. It would go to whoever they're watching, whoever's channel they're watching. So if they're just
But when I watch a
pulling a
stream-
Hassan and they're just sitting there
Hold up.
streaming Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, but when I watch a guy restream something and
Spronker,
comment,
sorry. I
Okay.
just wanted to let Mythic respond. I know he's been trying to talk, so yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, sorry. It's I'm getting used to panels and when to talk over someone or not. But basically, my thing is this: is that the perverse incentivization here is that the person reacting to content is doing so in a monetized fashion, wherein the person they're reacting to is not bearing it out. If it's not entertaining, no one's watching. It's mood anyways. No one cares. What people care about is when top tier, like guys like Hassan, Asmongold, Pokimane, monetize a piece of content on YouTube. So Hassan's making 30-20 grand maybe watching a series of videos, and the YouTube creator is not getting that whatsoever. There should be maybe possibly some revenue sharing or something. I don't know. I know that Twitch specifically has worked with music creators to sort of onboard and what counts as a stream, what not. I think there's some agreement that they can come to with YouTube, where if you have 20,000 concurrent viewers watching a YouTube video, YouTube compensates the YouTube viewer in some regard like that. But that's between YouTube and Twitch. But the problem is that's the incentive, is that overtly people on Twitch, the meta now is restreaming content in that way. That's why the Hell's Kitchen thing is coming on, and they're making a lot of money doing it. And it's I'm going to say it's not about whether it's transformative. It's assumed that it is. Otherwise, it's not even worth talking about. It's assumed that it is transformative and it is interesting. But the component is monetization for me.
That's a really good point. I think that actually brings up a very salient point, which is the cost structure, or I'm sorry, the payment structure for these types of things. How if you were subject to simply an ad revenue share agreement, then number of views would oftentimes translate to impressions that you get from ads, and if that's the payment model that they follow, then that would translate to revenue. If it's oh well, if this person's watching my video, then I would get something from it. The problem is for a lot of these, at least for Twitch, it's subscription based mostly. There is ad revenue, but that split is a lot bigger. So I don't know. That's a good question. My memeing answer was going to be it's about transforming it, and that includes commentary and the quality of facial expressions that you use. Because some people can say a lot without saying anything, and I think there's value in that. Nothing to do with me personally. It's more of just a general but correct statement. So that's where I feel about that. But now I'm thinking, damn it, now you got me thinking intellectually about this, and I don't like it. I won't have it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. The important
And with that, sorry,
Go ahead,
CTV,
Lesto.
CTV, yeah, I'm going to throw it to you. We're going to go into closing statement basically for this topic. We're running out of time, sorry. So yeah, CTV, you start.
Yeah, so I think it's obvious here that people are reacting to everything that happens in the world, whatever it is. When you come online, that's no different either. So turning the camera on and then giving your opinion on it, right? Or even just sitting back and watching other people's, content and stuff that they've done, right? If you've been able to build an audience around doing that kind of thing online, if it was easy, everybody would be fucking doing it. And if everybody is doing it, then they're not having the amount of success that they want, then I would say it probably has a lot to do with, the type of networking and the way that they present themselves, or knowing when to present themselves in a professional manner. And here's, kind of the bare bones, and have the right conversations and understand how it's going, X, Y, and Z. So we kind of covered all that. I feel like the person that created the original content has any kind of issue. Obviously, they can bring it up. But if not, then it's out there in the ether for people to kind of react to. That's kind of the whole point of, some people creating historical commentary and factual events, and then like I watch some of those over here, and I enjoy those, right? So anyway, that's kind of my whole deal with it.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Big Ugly Jim.
Okay, so much like CTV, I am a filthy, filthy communist. And I think it's fantastic that people are seizing the means of production and sharing stuff and like it's good. I think from a monetization perspective, I get it. Everyone wants to get paid, but I'm a communist, so I don't give a shit about that. And when people are upset that giant streamers aren't making more revenue because Hassan's watching their content or whatever, like I'll cry for all the rich people. That's it.
All right, Adesto.
So, and I'm going to use the United States for this, but the United States content creators can do many different things legally speaking. So, and if you don't do any of those things, then you're kind of being lazy. You're not taking the revenue that these people are making. So, who's at fault? Is it the person not doing it, or is the person doing it? I think equally are at fault. Now, I do have a question. This is closing. So, when you put this law that people are saying, when do you enact it? Do you enact it previous years, back when the internet started, or do you do it currently? And there's pluses and bad things for both sides, and that'll be the end for me.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Splonker.
Yeah, so basically, I'm gonna say that React content again.
Can I cut in for just a second? Maddie
Yes,
crashed.
yes, you can.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What did you say?
For Geek and CTV, Maddie just crashed.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so for again React content, I am 100% for it. I don't think, especially when we're talking about things that aren't behind a paywall that you're putting out there on a free platform. You want exposure, really. That's the name of the game. If you don't want exposure, putting your stuff out there, I mean, I've heard some people, I don't care about exposure. Well, I mean, yeah, that's why you're out here posting your stuff online. And the exposure is key. And I don't know. There's other ways around it when you're out here in 2022 posting things on platforms that has no paywalls that everybody can access. You've got to find if you're looking for money, you've got to find other ways to make that money. I mean, if it means merch, if it means live events, I don't know, but I don't give a fuck about the transformative content. I think there's something to be said about the just mirroring a stream. That's you can argue about that. And there have been some interesting business plan proposals for streaming services that I do agree with. I think are smart and good. But other than that, yeah, that's where I stand.
All right, have baked it.
Yep. Just as long as you're making original content, I really don't care if you react to people. Just hopefully you'll do it in a entertaining way, and then people will start to watch you, and then your channel will grow. So.
All right, Chance of Flurry.
Yeah, so if you're not bringing anything to the table in terms of reaction, right, nobody's going to watch you anyway, so who cares? The only people who make reactive content that people are going to watch are people who are transforming the content in some way. If you want to talk about people who just restream stuff like Hassan with MasterChef, watching like season 2 of MasterChef, which has been on YouTube for years now, I don't see a problem with that. If anything, they're creating new MasterChef fans. Okay, so you're bringing more to the table at that point. And if you want to say, well, there are people who will only watch MasterChef with Hassan, well, then that's it, right? They would never watch MasterChef anyway, so who cares?
All right, and MythicPolitics.
Just make it interesting and let the capitalists figure it out.
Ew.
All right, and response message too. With that being said, before we jump into the next topic, I just wanted to thank you all for being here. Oh, Maddie, there you go. Perfect. Maddie just back in time. All right. But with that being said, just wanted to say thank you all for being here. So for everyone in everyone's chat, go follow our wonderful guest, exclamation point guest in my chat if you want to have the full list and everything. Support content creators and everything. Go follow them. Go see the content of people outside of panel because panel are one thing, solo content is another. And also, if you're here, it's because you had an invite from Danabo, who's doing a wonderful work behind the scene. So go support Danabo, twitch.tv/Danabo. Go show some love.
Thank you, little puppy.
Apparently, it's puppy time.
Puppy time.
We need that on every
Holy
show.
shit. 2 puppies.
Well, why do you think I keep showing up every week? So y'all get some puppy time.
3 puppies on screen. 4 puppies.
All right, I'll go get Ruby.
I'm sorry, I fucking win.
Only got
dude.
a cat. But I'm a duck.
Yeah, the cat.
God,
I got like a quarter to third Mancoon cat. That's about it. He's a big boy.
Here in Canada, all our dogs are actually used to get around, so we don't.
Yeah, they're all
Don't you eat
husky.
your dogs too?
I know I need to move on
used
with
to
the
have,
show, but I like
Wait
this
a minute, we
moment
don't
way
eat our
too much.
dogs. That's
We
China.
don't eat them.
I mean, we got a lot of Chinese people here, but I mean,
Okay, let's not go there. Let's jump into the next topic. What a transition.
wait, was that controversial? That was not controversial. That was true as fuck. Anyways,
No,
go
I
for
just want to not go there.
I would just like to
Well, I mean,
interject that's very xenophobic. What you did is just prejudicial and racist, and it's not entirely. There's many Asian countries where eating dog is normal. It's not just China.
I agree. He's right.
Yeah, I should have been more specific.
I should have been.
But yeah.
You should have said Asia. I'm sorry.
I just
Listen.
can't get with the peoples that eat dog. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Always afraid of how things can be misinterpreted. But anyway, let's go back on track for the show. I'm sorry about that. All right.
Yeah, sorry I dropped off. My Wi-Fi is just a hamster on a wheel, and he's trying his best.
That was the problem. Let's talk about hamsters now.
Let's
No one
do
eats
that.
hamsters.
Hamsters, what are they?
All right. Let's go back into the main topic. Sorry. All right. So basically, every time we try to talk about the Freedom Convoy, I was half between not wanting to interrupt the puppy moment and this weird moment. But anyway, let's go back on track. Every time we try to talk about the Freedom Convoy, we end up talking about BLM. We end up talking about January 6th. So we might we thought that it might be better to start directly with this. So basically, what comparison are there between the truck blockades and recent US protests, if any? Is protest useful in our current political climate? And where is the line between legitimate protest and illegal gathering? And with that being said, we're going to start with Maddie.
Yay! Oh boy, yeah. I mean, it is a very complicated issue. On the one hand, I disagree with their rationale for protest. I disagree with their stance on COVID protocols, public health measures. But at the same time, I think it's important to defend people's personal liberty and being able to maybe see where we draw a line. I think going after their bank accounts is not okay. I think that people have the right. I mean, obviously this is happening in Canada. I'm admittedly not as well versed in Canadian law, but if it were here in the United States, people have the right to assembly. People have the right to be able to speak their minds and disrupt in order to make their voices heard. I just wish in this case it wasn't such a dog shit reason why, but I don't know. It makes me really uncomfortable that the Canadian government is going out of their way to freeze people's bank accounts and attack them and arrest them, because if this were any other protest, be it BLM, be it like the Women's March, that would not be okay. And the rationale that, oh, but they're blocking traffic, that's not okay, like to punish them for simply practicing a freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. So I'm a little conflicted on this, but I'm excited to hear what everyone else has to say.
Right.
Oh, sorry, were you gonna pick?
What?
Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
typically how these things work.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mythic.
Oh, okay, yeah. So just doubling down on what you thank you. Very obliging of you. Doubling down, I'm curious about the actual the mechanism, because I dug into that and I read article after article, and I'm unable to figure out how they picked the 76 people that the Royal County Mounted Police sent to the bank so as to freeze, and whether they coordinated with FinTrack, i.e. the Give Send Go or the GoFundMe frozen accounts and all that. I'm unsure how they're picking the 76 frozen accounts, or the people through the accounts to freeze under the Emergency Management Act or whatever it is, the Emergency Powers Act, whether there was an existing mechanism or whether it was a thing that a novel thing that they decided to do under the auspices of terrorism or something, or some emergency powers based on the blockaded the economical logjam of the convoy. So my main thing, I just to double down on what I believe her name, Maddie, what the last speaker had said. Basically, I would double down on it's the murky mechanism is weird, and that's the Orwellian part, because we don't know how they're stifling, why those people were targeted specifically. Is it just because they're trying to track down out of non-Canadian money from going into bank accounts that are funding civil unrest? That's a shitty implementation of a law that'll lead to downstream implications that just go towards fomenting, creating situations through which it'll make it more difficult to protest. So I don't like that generally. I think that people should be free to protest, and protests are an organic thing. We should do as much as possible so as to not stifle them, I think.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Big Ugly Jim.
Okay, so I think one of the things that I regularly see when people talk about this particular movement is the mistaken conflation with Black Lives Matter. This is not the same thing. This is, at its core, not a freedom movement. It's not an anti-mandate movement. The people who are organizing this and the people who are the core behind it are active fascists. And it's important to fucking understand. As a Canadian, this is mind-blowing to us that we're like, what are you talking about? This is... No one supports this except the super far right-wing crazy nationalist dudes that are like, the memorandum of understanding was all about ending parliament. Like that's what these people brought to the table in the very beginning. They scaled it back, and they bring a lot of other voices that are on the side of mandates to try and sort of hide the fact that this is who they are, but this is who they are. So it sucks.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Aresto.
I mean, I don't have a problem with protesting. I don't have a problem with them building wooden structures, feeding people, having families there. I don't have a problem with any of that. I have a problem when you start destroying things and when you start advocating for things to be destroyed. And that's where I have a problem with it. So I'm going to hear everyone else's take.
All right. Splonker.
So, what are the questions, right? We were sent some questions. We were sent, first of all, what are the comparisons between the truckers and the U.S. protests? So, we had BLM, right? BLM was a mostly peaceful protest. I agree with that. Mostly peaceful. And with clear moments of violence and vandalism and things like this. But mostly, you have to say, it's peaceful. It's a large movement, so you have to expect a lot of bad incidences that occur. So yes, it was a mostly peaceful protest. That's, I think, is similar to the blockades. Mostly peaceful. There are some instances of violence, some Nazi flag. I mean, I don't know if that's legit, but if it is, yeah, there are some random individual instances of bad outcomes. So that's similar to the BLM riots. We have incidents of people dying in BLM. I don't think that happened. So in the recent convoy, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some info I'm not aware of, but I don't think anyone died. BLM was about ending systemic racism and white supremacy. So systemic racism, when we talk about systemic racism, we're talking about the system, right? So government is definitely involved with what the conversation we're talking about. It's the system, it's education, it's the whole foundation, it's the machine. We've made it in such a way that's geared towards white supremacy. So BLM is it's a anti, or it's a challenging the authority, challenging the current government, really. So I think that's similar to the recent convoy. We're just going to say that. The website says that they're they're fighting for freedom, liberation, and justice. Similar to us, right? We think the same thing. It's just we define liberty and justice and whatnot in different manners. And to eliminate white supremacy, I'm bringing back the government in there. That the implication is that the system is broken and encourages white supremacy and whatnot. So we're fighting the government, the establishment, the status quo. They want to build local power to intervene in violence and that's inflicted on black communities in the state and whatnot. So this is all things we're for. Another protest was the Capitol, right? This is regardless of what you think of what happened there. This was, something where people.
Sorry to cut you.
Is someone cutting me off?
Yes, that's me. Sorry. Can you make it a tiny bit shorter, just because we need to basically get everyone to.
You have 3 questions in your intro.
I know.
Yeah, but you only get 2 minutes for opening statement. That way it gets kicked to the room.
Okay, so let's go through the questions. What are the comparisons? There are many. I went through them, right? Is protest useful in our current political climate? It's always useful. I mean, we have to have the ability to protest against the authorities that are imposing their will upon us. And usually when we protest, it has to do with laws, right? And so law doesn't equate justice. We've protested, we've made law, we've been to war against law. Slavery is an example of a law that we've gone to war to eliminate, right? So it doesn't matter. And where's the line between legitimate protest and the illegal gathering? There's the line that's drawn by the government, right? Justin Trudeau just enacted the Emergencies Act. He's now going to have the ability to arbitrarily decide which assembly is deemed legal and what not based on his own parameters. So it's up to the government. Is it right? Is it just? No, I don't believe so. And my turn is up, apparently.
So sorry about that. Chancellor Fleury.
Yeah, so following that up, multiple comparisons that we can make between the protests, right? Protests generally are against the system or anti-state in some way. We can also talk about when is protest useful. I think that, it's essentially necessary in terms of a democracy. Without proper ability to protest, I don't think that we can have a functioning democracy. And where's the line? I would put it at violence, but again, the state is the one that gets to decide that, right? So let's just open it up as soon as we can.
All right, have big takes.
So I'm going to make it quick. I just think this is a great barometer for you as just are you principled? If you were sitting back and saying, fucking the BLM protests and every protest before that was left-leaning, if you were all behind that, then you should probably be behind this as well. People's right to protest is not political or partisan. You need to give people that space and that freedom regardless. And I know Canada is a hellhole that doesn't have freedom of speech, but it does seem a little weird that they've never invoked the Emergencies Act until in the entire, I think back in 1988 when it was first established, it was initially like enacted, but it hasn't been enacted since then. And there have been protests that have dwarfed this in stature and in cost and like damage and all that shit. So I just think it's a silly bitch argument to say like, oh, this is so much different than the BLM just because it's they're fascists behind it. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'll wrap it up there. Let's get to the open panel, boys and girls.
Girl.
All right.
think-
CTV.
You see me? See how you're down there? This is where Justin Trudeau is speaking from whenever he's speaking to the Canadian people right now.
By
You hear
force.
me? You will fucking do what I tell you to do because you're fucking down there. All right? You can't have an opinion. Even though I sent out tweets fucking, over the last years about how we should be thankful for our truckers, right? Fuck you now, because I feel like that I don't want to lose the power that I have over you, even though everyone can, if they're taking a look at this issue rationally, now that we're almost 2 years into fucking COVID, understands that this thing's going to go where the fuck it's going to go, and there's not too much that anybody can actually fucking do about it. The best thing you can do is maintain your social distance from people, make sure you're washing your fucking hands. That's been the things that you've been able to do from the fucking start. The only time my ass got sick with COVID is when my fucking wife gave it to me. # why are women? Well, now the wife's yelling from yonder. Now the wife's yelling for, hey, you know what? You want an opinion? If you want an opinion, you come in here and give me your fucking opinion. Don't yell at me from across the fucking house. Get your ass over here. You can tell them that shit. Oh, no, it's happening. It's going down for real.
Hashtag wire men, because you know what? They give us the pregnancies, they give us fuck, they give us shit, and we have to deal with them 24/7. We can't get away from them.
Yes. Yes.
Love being part of the domestic.
All right.
Now,
I think this is perfect.
Such a weird
That I
thing.
just
Now,
witnessed.
as far as the Canadian truckers are concerned, support those motherfuckers out there doing their job. Anybody that's trying to freeze their fucking bank accounts is a piece of shit, right? It's their fucking money that they earned, right? And it's money that people want to be able to send to them to support what is frankly a Canadian fucking winter. Some of you motherfuckers need to go outside and touch some fucking snow. Right? Find the fucking grass underneath the fucking snow and then come back and tell me about taking fuel cans off of fucking trucks and stealing wood from these motherfuckers. Give me a fucking break.
All right.
I live in
And
California. We don't have snow.
The floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen,
So
let me say this. I was going through my descriptions and whatnot, and what I was going through, right? What I wanted to get to is one of the most important, one of the most important things that about all these protests that we have in common is that we all are. Let's not jump and get really out of our element here, but we are all engaging in insurrections, right?
Okay,
We
well, I'm
all-
an insurrection here. I'm
Every
gonna
single thing,
pivot
right? We
the
got
conversation.
insurrection. Miriam, well, that's one of the
Definition-wise,
again,
no.
Listen, what comparisons are there between the truckers and the blockades? Are we going outside of the discussion here? That's one of those things that is, they're all insurrection. Jan 6, yes, it is. If they want to call it an insurrection, it is. But BLM, it was as well. It was just something. It was an uprising.
How are you
how is
defining
BML?
insurrection? How are you? What is your
Wait, wait,
definition
wait,
of
wait.
insurrection? Yeah.
Fine, let's go through the definitions, right? We got Miriam that says an act or instance of revolting against civil authority or an established government. BLM was doing the same thing. January 6th. The Convoy is the same shit, right? We're going against the established government. What are you talking about? Institutionalized racism, white supremacy. You're all talking about the government. The government it has this shit instilled in them. You're going against the established government.
There's a difference in between trying to foment change in the existing government and trying to overthrow the government.
You
Those
don't
are two
get to
different things.
dictate-
One's
you don't-
insurrectionary and not.
insurrection. It's all
Mythic,
insurrection.
you don't
It's
get
all
to
insurrection.
Mythic. hold on. You don't
I
get
do
to
too.
dictate. You
Yep.
don't get to dictate who,
Yep.
how much or what is worthy of being protested against. I'm sorry, you don't get to dictate that.
Everything is
I
one.
didn't say they couldn't. That's not even the question. The question whether something insurrection or I agree. I didn't
Well,
say I believe in all protests. I didn't even say they couldn't protest. So don't fucking strawman me. I didn't even say that. I'm
So why
speaking
is this not an
specifically to
insurrection?
him.
We're talking about BLM.
Alright,
How is this
okay,
not an
okay,
insurrection? Right? We got Britannica.
French. Again, one thing.
French.
For the fun topic, I wanted this to be a little bit more lively. For this one that is serious, I just want to say, like, we're going to go to a system where, like, if you can basically jump in, raise your hand, and I will try to give you the mic. Try to jump in as much as possible, and also try to limit the interruption as much as possible. If you want to talk, like, yeah. Try to not jump in the middle of a
Insurrectionist
sentence.
in the room with us right now.
Who is that?
Yeah, right here.
Okay, but when they come,
Well,
when
I
they
mean,
come
you're
with a
all
memorandum of
insurrectionists.
understanding,
You're all
that says-
insurrectionists.
when they
No.
come with a memorandum of understanding,
Yes, you are.
that says
We're
they
all
want to get rid of
insurrectionists.
Parliament, they want to get rid of the elected Parliament and go with the Senate and the Governor General. Both are appointed positions. Like, I happen to know a little bit about Canadian government, and what they're doing is removing people's ability to fucking vote. Is that something you guys are?
I gotta ask you a very specific question, Jim.
Okay. Let me put my
Okay,
shades on.
so fascists, right? They would be wanting to push power towards a centralized government, right? So that they can maintain a total, monopoly on power, right? So I gotta ask you, bro. Like, don't you even begin to question the narrative whenever what we have here is a movement of truckers, right, that are blocking the traffic in order to try to decentralize that power and get it pushed back to the provinces? It just seems
not what
like
they're
that
doing.
it seems like that, like, the stated goal, right, of getting rid of COVID mandates is the attempt to decentralize power. And what this seems like to me, if I'm looking at it from a messaging game, right, that the people participating in it would be more anti-fascist than they would fascist, right? The fascists would be the one trying to retain their power, which is specifically what Justin Trudeau is doing.
But CTV,
but
it's
I'm gonna-
right.
Hang on, and that was to me. That was to me. Y'all.
I
All
give
right,
it to you after.
Let me answer your.
Yeah, go
Let me
ahead.
give
Nick.
you an answer to that. Sorry. And I'll speak French too, just kidding. The answer is, if you read the memorandum of understanding, there was a third group of government that was to be created based on the membership of the United We Roll, or whatever the fuck they're calling themselves these days. In other words, they wanted to create a federal power out of their membership. This isn't about putting power in the hands. The provinces already control the mandates. Justin Trudeau doesn't control the mandates, so it's all provincial or state for comparison. This is not putting power in the hands of the states. This is putting power in the hands of the small group of people who were running this, who are the same people who did United We Roll. They're the same people who attack Indigenous protesters all the time. This is not. I know I seem like the hippie commie guy, but I'm not. I'm just the guy who sees the world.
So you're telling me the general sentiment of this protest is that stated cause and not
Absolutely
just
not.
Okay, then I'm sorry. Then what did the last 2 minutes of your fucking talking have anything to do with this? Then just
All right,
because
yeah.
a small group, a small section of it has some fucked up.
Organizers. The people who built this movement.
I don't know, man. This sounds kind of like some of the same shit that we were hearing from QAnon.
Yeah, some
And
of the
BLM.
This
individuals
sounds like
It's the same
that
shit
are
with BLM. It's
protest
the
are
Marxist
pushing the-
leanings of BLM. It's the same bullshit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
wouldn't
exactly.
say you wouldn't say BLM is Marxist, right? But the founders of BLM are Marxist. Correct?
To be
Big Fat Jim?
specific,
Or Big
to be
Ugly Jim?
to be specific, Jim, right? Like, that's why I wanted to drill you down on the fascist, anti-fascist part of, like, what the movement's for, what it's doing, right? Like, to push back against this power is, in fact, to be anti-fascist, because the fascist is the one that's actually trying to retain their power that they're having right now, which is the COVID mandate. So that right there is just principle from what's happening from power. So, like, I'm not a fucking Canadian government guy, right? I'm definitely an American government guy. So, but it seems to me from the explanations that the COVID mandates are coming from the federal level of the government, right? And There's some provinces that are doing it, some provinces that are not. But it's the international border when it comes to forcing COVID vaccinations on the truck drivers that are going across the borders. That mandate is coming from the federal government, not the state government.
Okay, so that is true that the border crossing is federal because it's a federal border. The mandates in general are like, if people are losing jobs supposedly because of not being vaccinated, which is largely not happening, but does happen. I'm not going to pretend it's zero.
I'm one of those guys.
It's
Okay,
it's
and I'm not
marginal,
saying
but
it's
it does
I was
happen.
almost one of those guys.
Just get
Those-
vaccinated.
Yeah, those rules
No.
are all provincial. The rule about crossing the border, which doesn't apply
That's
to
a good
almost
argument.
everyone doing
No.
Guys,
Just have
This
Needles are
child,
scary.
this
Okay,
child
the
is
kid.
arguing. This child is
Okay, I'm
arguing.
sorry, I'm going to stop
It's so
muting
scary.
people.
So scary. I bet.
Blue hair child is trying to me out.
All right, I want to let Big Ugly Jim finish his statement, and after that, I want Mythix, who has been trying to speak for a while. Again, if you want to speak, raise your hand, and I will try to give you the mic.
Okay, so all I'm saying is the mandate that we're talking about is a federal mandate, the one about crossing the border, but the mandates that they're talking about are provincial. They're entirely provincial. The people who are truckers are 90% vaccinated, and most of them are cool with the idea of this mandate. And the mandate doesn't say you can't be a trucker anymore. The mandate says all you can do is if either you get vaccinated to cross the border or just go across Canada. Right? You can still be a trucker full-time, happily employed.
You said that. Did you just say they're
I'm
okay
sorry,
with the mandates?
Sorry.
The
You're
vast
wrong about
majority
that.
of
Yeah,
them.
you're wrong about
That's
that.
flat not
Again,
true.
French.
That's not true.
Mythix, go ahead.
Wrong.
He's
Mythix,
talking
go
about
ahead.
he's talking about
The
truckers in
majority,
general.
There's been a recent study right now that's been said that
I see
over
only
50%, the
1%.
majority of Canadians are, they want all
I see only one person named Mythix, sorry. Mythix, go ahead.
Is addressing what CTV said about fascism, RE, whatever. I would think a lot of people who they don't come out and say, "Hey, I'm a white identitarian, I'm a white nationalist, I'm a white supremacist, and this is what I want." What they use is a pretext of populist talking points so as to Trojan horse their message or red pill people with messaging. So they glom onto these things. Broadly speaking, who is it? Tamara Lich, Pat King, Ben Dichter, Marco van Hugenboa, or however you would say that. These people are yellow vesters who are anti-Muslim, anti-immigration, anti-carbon tax, pro-pipeline. They have a history of trucking and doing all that stuff. They are statedly for a Western separatist form of Canadian politics, right? I would say broadly, from looking at it in a cursory fashion. So to say that they're not fascists, I think, is sort of mixing up the message by focusing on the tenets of this specific protest and saying that they're not fascists. I think that's sort of a weird pretext.
Well,
I think
not
fascists should be allowed to protest too.
I didn't say they couldn't protest. I didn't say that. I'm just saying it's okay to use correct descriptions.
So,
And just
Splonker,
because the organizers are fascist doesn't mean the movement at large is a fascist movement.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
And I just
your argument just
you
fall
would never
apart completely.
you would
Hush,
just-
Grandpa.
No, you just would
Hush,
never make
Grandpa.
this. You would never make the
Listen,
same
50
comparison
over
with
50
BLM.
Half-baked, go ahead, and after
Go for
that,
it, go for it.
Splonker, and after that,
No,
Alesto.
don't rub your eyes. Don't rub your eyes, loser.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but nobody would ever make this comparison with BLM and say because the BLM founders have Marxist leanings that you would describe the BLM protest as having Marxist leanings. So
I would.
I mean, that's fine. That's fine. Well, I personally wouldn't, and I think most people in America don't associate the two. They can distinguish between the organization and then the protests that happened in 2020 and 2021. But that's just me. But what is being done right now is is poisoning the well. It's muddying the waters by bringing this up. Just in general, you're creating a conversation that is toxic because you're associating the entire convoy with. I don't even know if this is true what you're saying, Jim, but like if that is true, you're associating the entire movement with it by bringing this up, and by saying you're not is being a little bit disingenuous, right?
Did not say. I agree that I'm sullying the water, and I agree that the whole convoy is not fascist. The directions of the convoy are fascist. That's a very, very important difference.
Real quick, sorry. I just wanted to throw it to TheSplonker, who I think has something he wants to say. I'm not sure.
Well, we have studies out here that say that slightly over, just a little over 50% of Canadians want that all restrictions to end. They want to remove all restrictions.
Can you send the source of that, please?
Yeah, sure.
That's an Angus Reid poll. 54% of Canadians actually.
What was the sample size on that, and when was it conducted?
This was
You can read it. You can read it on your own. But what it
Thank
says here is that
send it.
Real quick, we got the group chat.
what it says here is that most Canadians actually agree with the convoy, with the demands of the convoy. We don't want to cause as much. We don't. There's no willingness to actually cause any disruption in the economy. The economy has been disrupted already. It's been fucked up already. All we want is what the majority of Canadians want, which I can send.
But forget economic destruction. I think protests should be allowed to disrupt the economy. Okay. Because if we're ever to have like a general strike or some type of large labor movement, do you understand the level of economic harm that would do to the entire nation? We need to be allowed to do this as part of a protest, and to have the government crack down on a protest just because they're causing economic disruption is a really bad precedent to state.
That's right.
Yeah, lefties. What about
I would agree with
boycotts?
that.
This is that large-scale movement that you're talking about. This is that. Whenever you piss off the truckers, these are the guys that bring you. Doesn't fucking matter what it is. Medical supplies, fucking adult diapers, your fucking rubbers, right? It doesn't fucking matter, right? They bring all of it that comes to your fucking store. And with these guys that have been going through the pandemic, right? They basically, and I've been a fucking trucker myself, right? You end up living a life of a lot of solitude with you and just the fucking road, and you go into a truck stop, you're trying to avoid everybody fucking anyway, because one, you don't know anybody around you. You pretty much, either you're just completely laissez-faire, or at least for me, the experience was almost like a type of hypervigilance where, like, I'm watching everyone because I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's always new places that I'm exploring, X, Y, and Z. Maybe you end up on a regular route where you don't have those types of concerns, but if you're over the road and just fucking going wherever, dude, you got to be fucking careful where the fuck you're walking sometimes. So that's the kind of life that these guys have been living, and then for the federal government that has been saying, hey, we support you guys, da-da-da, they're saying good stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, they drop truckers from being essential workers, and now all of this shit is like, oh, well, these truckers are vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. We need to force them to do this, that, and the other, when these have been the people that's been keeping everybody moving this whole fucking time. That's what's going on right now. This is that workers' movement.
Who else has been keeping people moving are like the nurses, are the doctors who are working insane hours and dealing with bullshit. Yeah, and you know what they want you to do? They want you to do your part to protect public health.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Vaccinated. Yeah, but the ones, listen.
Not all of them.
Okay.
You're right. Dr.
Tell me that 100% agrees with you.
And God bless him. But honestly, like, I think it's so fucking disrespectful when you're saying, oh, but we support all the nurses. We support the people putting in the time to save lives. They're dealing with a constant onslaught of people coming in, and even though they're dying of COVID, screaming at them. Doctors are now facing more violence from their patients' families, because no, I'm not, and I'll send you all the fancy study to prove this. This is something that's happening across the country.
Post it in the group chat like I did.
Across the world. Oh, because
post it in the group chat like I did.
But, like, that's the thing, and I think it's just so fucking disrespectful when there are people that are getting turned away from the ER because the ICU is entirely full of people who are too fucking bullshit
Do you really
stupid to just get pretending that you give a shit about, like, the first responders, you giving a shit about the people who have been working for 2 straight years to keep people safe, that have to deal with more death in their care than they ever have before, simply because of the misinformation spreading around. Fucking shame on you, dude. Be a fucking man, be an adult, and get fucking vaccinated, you child.
All right,
Calling me a child?
Sorry, Alistair wanted to talk for a while, and I
my
forgot
little
about
blueberry.
him. It's all right.
Okay, so
Alistair.
since she brought up medical, and I'm sorry, Maddie, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. 90 to 100% of the medical community doesn't like mandates. A lot of them don't care for this. They like
90 to 100%, huh? Wow.
No.
What
315%.
Wait.
Does the
So,
CDC count as part of the medical
No,
community?
that's not the number. That's not the number.
A leprechaun told me that
Okay, I
the
slipped
medical
on my
community
Sorry,
among
okay.
ponies and flying
I'm
dragons
French.
is against it.
French.
That's not the number, guys.
I'm going to mute people now. If you have studies and stuff like that, I don't want to go into a study well right now. You're posting your links. We have a
We
group.
posted it in the group chat.
All right.
You did
Now
it.
I want to throw it back to
You
Ale.
didn't.
You did
Alesto,
it.
go.
So are we going to go down medical mandates, or where are we going with that geek?
No mandates.
The point
Because
you
I
are
agree
trying
with
to
no
make.
mandates.
There you
mean,
go.
everyone-
Yay! We win. Let's close the stream. Just shut it down.
But
Debate
but
over.
I
You can
will-
just shut yours
gonna,
down.
I'm gonna go back. So I'm gonna.
She
have
would like that. This little blueberry.
All right.
I am a blueberry. It's because I have blue hair. Get it?
Okay.
No,
Like
that's actually
the
not
fruit?
why. It's because
I'm
you have the
going to
entire-
mute people
like
now.
the fruit that is also blue.
Okay,
Do
can
you
we
guys
stop
get it?
this? Can we stop this? Anyway, can we all
Alesto.
agree that
no,
this?
Oh, Burnham wants
no.
us to chill out.
All right.
It's like a reverse Smurfette, you know?
I'm muting everyone. Alesto, go.
So I disagree with the truckers having everything removed from them. That's going to be gasoline, wood, money, stuff like that. When you have people like, not people, excuse me, but groups like BLM, where they were pulling out the borderline Antifa people. And I want to say I read an article about Antifa themselves being pulled out of the jails and their bails being posted. I have a big problem with that because they're just now pulling their 501c years later. But because of this whole thing with Ottawa, now they're doing it within the months of doing it. There's a huge problem with that.
All right. Have big takes. I know you've been trying to speak.
I want to get out into the room. Like, does anybody disagree that this protest is about vaccine mandates? Like that, it's not about the vaccine. 90% of truckers have the vaccine. There is no argument about the efficacy of this. It is about mandating it on a federal level. And I would agree that, or I would think everybody in here would agree that having a protest that is protesting that does not deserve the Emergency Act being enacted, correct?
I agree. And as a guy here, just to confirm with that, yeah, I'm not anti-vax. I just want to confirm that I'm pro-vaccine. Have your vaccine. Have all the vaccines you want. The protest is not about the majority. I mean, you're gonna have some anti-vaxxers over there, but the most of us, man, we're for vaccines. It's just the mandates. That's all.
Then how isn't that intrinsically contradictory? If you're for the vaccines and anti-mandates, just get the fucking vaccine and go about your fucking business.
I am peacefully protesting. I will never get a vaccine. It goes against my principle. Why would
Your
you
principles are stupid.
Listen
Your
to me.
principles are dumb.
Listen to me.
Your
When you
principles
mandate a vaccine,
are. You understand your principles can be dumb. You can be principled and stupid.
Mullet man.
Do you just comment on people's appearances when you get upset?
I do.
And then
It's
you just
how I
look at like the
remember you
one
guys.
thing you notice about them, and they're like, "That's who you
I
are."
remember you guys. I remember
That's-
you guys.
Trump.
That's really
All right.
sad. and childish.
Okay.
When you mandate, please.
Splonker, you make your point, and after that, Mythic, you can enter.
Make a vaccine mandatory. You disincentivize those vaccine manufacturers from making that vaccine better. Because you
That's
have to
not
take
how,
it. It doesn't matter.
That's not how
There's
market
no-
forces work in that case.
So
All right.
wait a minute.
What?
She doesn't say that. If you leave it to the individual's choice to take that vaccine and it doesn't work, just like it seems to not be working, you have a lot of people protesting these vaccines.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Don't
working.
mean it actually doesn't be. You have your standards of how a vaccine
Do
works. My
bulletproof
standards are
vests not
higher
work?
than you. I have higher
Okay. I'm sorry.
Just get to your point. Spit it out. Spit it out. Say the rest.
Mullet man's angry at me.
Yeah,
So
go ahead,
what I'm
stupid.
Wow, Mullet man. What I'm saying is basically.
Mullet
you
man,
don't-
that's so good. You fucking got him, dude.
It's French. It's a moulet.
Yeah.
So they've stopped me in my tracks there. I'm good.
How kind of you to help out the big
Mullet
pharma
man, mullet
by
man, I
implementing
let-
policies that can improve the
Mr. Geek
vaccine.
wanted to speak.
I didn't understand that what your core principles were to improve the vaccines.
Mr. Geek,
By
I'm sorry,
removing
Mr.
the
Geek.
economic blockades that
Mr.
would
Geek.
facilitate it improving. How kind of you, you disingenuous prick. Shut the fuck up. You're fucking
Mr.
against
Geek,
vaccines.
I'm sorry for
You're
this
you're
outburst.
working in a
Mr. Geek.
contrarian fashion because you don't like the fucking vaccines. Shut up, take the jab, get back to work. You're blocking the economy by not getting it.
Have
You're
you
blocking the
considered that
economy by
needles
not
are
getting the
scary?
vaccine at this point.
Mythic, do you
Jesus
believe in freedom of
Christ.
choice?
Okay, stop, everyone.
What?
Okay, sorry. If you're going... All right, I'm going to pull it line. When someone speaks, and you speak at the same time, we get none of it. So please, try to minimize your interruption. Going, Mr. K, Mr. K. All right. If you want to speak, please raise your hand, and I will give you the mic. All right, Mythic, finish your point.
I think I did it.
All right.
No, I forget actually what my point was now. I leaned into the rant too much.
My point is he leaned into the rant too much.
Yeah. No,
All
me,
right.
stupid.
Yeah,
Mythic.
you did. Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
point. You
Okay,
did.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you got him good.
Shut up, Blueberry.
You got him good.
Okay, half-baked.
Mythic.
Thanks, thanks, Boris.
All right,
Bor-
Mythic. Mythic, would you agree that, or like you said that it is contradictory to say that you would be pro-vax but anti-mandate? Do you understand where being like against a mandating something and requiring something by law could be different than just being in favor of something, anything, even a vaccine or whatever it may be?
I'm not necessarily strict authoritarian. I don't think this when the state does something is necessarily good. I think that the vaccine mandates are based on science. I think the vaccines are based on science, and therefore I don't think that what the protest is for is smart. I'm mixing up a bunch of talking points now. If your opposition to a governmental policy, shut the fuck up. If your objection to a governmental policy is that is righteous or smart, I think that's good. But if you're arbitrarily against a policy because it's mandatory, then I think that's stupid. Because policies become mandatory often, not all, I shouldn't say that. I think this particular policy is good. I think this particular policy is good. Yes.
All right, I want to throw it to Big Ugly Jim, and after that, Alesto.
Okay, so I'm going to just put this out there. I would be opposed to a vaccine mandate in the case of like a flu shot or tetanus. I am not opposed in the case of a fucking pandemic to make sure that no matter what, you maintain the stability of the public healthcare system. I know you guys don't have one of those, but we do here in Canada. We have a public healthcare system that has to actually survive COVID.
It hasn't survived in years.
You base that on the fact that you can't go to a hospital.
All the articles you see right now of the healthcare system being destroyed because of COVID, they've all been coming out since 2010, since 2008. Since the healthcare system has been in shambles for years because of the government that we currently have.
The regular flu season we used to bring our hospital over 100% capacity.
In shambles, yeah, in shambles.
Yeah, and the liberal government isn't the problem because most
it's
of this
not working properly.
Provincially.
Blueberry.
In what? By what metric? By what metric?
Wait times are long as fuck.
Wait times for what kind of service?
Surgeries were delayed long before COVID came about.
What kind of
right?
surgeries? Because life-changing surgeries.
Life-changing surgeries.
Life-changing
surgeries.
As in changing the fact that you were going to die.
Elective surgeries.
Elective surgeries.
No, not elective surgeries. These are important surgeries. This has always been the case. It's always been that. Look it up. Just look.
French. All right. I'm going to throw it away to Alesto. Because I'm sorry, but like if you have studies on whatever you're talking about, again, link them in chat. Other than that. All right,
Mr.
Alesto,
Geek,
go.
just a quick question, Mr. Geek. If I speak French, can I talk over people?
No.
Flocon de maize.
Je parle français.
No,
I
it
just said
doesn't work.
cornflakes. That's all I know.
Actually, me
Désolé.
and
Sorry, I
Splonker
thought I
are
was
both
still
fluent,
muted.
So.
I thought I was still
Okay,
muted.
So I'm going to
Hey, so
pivot
go.
back to the conversation of what it was, and I'm going to start with this. So I think any type of political, anything you want to call it, protest, let's just say it that, is warranted, should be allowed. But the problem that I'm having is when you start having violence in each type of protest. That is where it should be happening, like should be stopped, and it's not.
Has this protest been violent though? It seems
No,
like
no, no,
very
no. I'm not
minimal.
saying this one. I'm not
Very
saying
minimal.
this one.
I'm
It
posting
seems
so
like
many
this
articles.
There's like extremely isolated incidents of violence.
Yeah.
But other
But
than that,
overall,
there's no
the
widespread
protests-
anything.
Yeah, the protest as a whole, broad brush, has been pretty
You could
peaceful.
say about the
It's been helpful to the
The
community as well,
noise,
not just
you
that.
could say the noise problem that they were having in downtown Ottawa, where it was causing people like with hearing aids and like with hearing problems to like suffer damage because the decimal was so high. We could talk about that, and they instituted laws to limit the noise, but the protest was able to continue. The problem is it feels a little authoritarian when you're agreeing with the Emergencies Act being enacted upon this protest just because you don't like what they're protesting, even if it's fucking fascist. It could be fascist as fuck. I don't care. They're protesting and they're protesting peacefully. They have that right?
If this was a peaceful protest, absolutely.
It is.
How is it not a
mostly peaceful protest?
Okay, so what we're talking about when we're talking about Ottawa, yeah, Ottawa has largely been peaceful in that most people are staying the fuck home and getting harassed by horns and shit. But I mean, like, look at the larger movement, and we're talking about like Coots, Alberta, the blockade of
The
the
larger
border there,
movement
where they-
was in Ottawa.
No, it's across the country.
No,
And
the larger
Coots, where
movement
they
was
blocked-
Ottawa.
Where they blocked the border in Alberta.
Show me
Coots.
stats that say it wasn't.
You could
You
let
want me
him
to just pull them out of
finish.
my ass? I mean, that'd be cool.
We're arguing,
Um,
lady. I'm sorry if you want this little fucking Oxford kind
Okay,
of sort of debate.
lady. But
You're
I'm
the
just
one
saying
wearing
you
the
could let him
Oxford sweater.
finish. Yeah.
So here's
Oxford.
the
This is
thing.
Oxford, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
It looks nice.
At Coots,
should
where the border was
moisturize.
blockaded first, the police or RCMP made an arrest of a bunch of people with a bunch of guns and a bunch of white supremacist names on them, like Dagalon, which, for the record, all you Americans, that starts in Alaska and goes all the way down to Florida. That's some idiot's idea.
I'm for having guns.
I'm for having guns. I love guns. I have no problem with
Okay.
guns. I have a
So
problem
what do
with
you
people
think?
showing up.
So what do you think those guns were for?
All right. Apparently, this is a Second
They were
Amendment.
for shooting people.
So all
How do
guns
you know?
are.
Are
for
you
shooting
Minority
people.
Report at this point?
Yeah. All guns are for shooting people.
Well,
What do you think
actually,
they're for?
well, you know, look, here's the reality. Hold on. Look, we're bringing up guns, right? You know, everybody knows this is definitely an issue. This is
Oh
near
my
and dear to
God, no.
CTV's heart, right?
Oh
so,
wait,
like,
are we
look,
gonna? No. I don't want a suicide
Okay.
on my watch. Come on.
What
Do it.
What do you?
No,
so
no,
here
no.
specifically, look. Just take a look for a minute, right? What this is, right, is a highly mechanized and effective delivery system of lead, right? Nothing more. What it hits. Right, it will destroy, but it's just a lead delivery system, folks. There's, you know, as a matter of fact, I call it the wireless. I had a
Wireless
joke. Anyway.
gun. The wireless gun.
No, it's a.
All
what
right,
was
and
it?
with that being said, I just want to remind everyone that the topic is
Oh, wireless
Freedom
hole
Convoy.
punch. Wireless hole punch. That was it. Wireless hole punch.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Let's go back to the topic, which is like the Freedom Convoy, like and vaccine mandate and all of this shit. So anyway, back to whoever wants to talk about it.
I think that at a fundamental level, it's there's very real institutional and intergenerational racism with BLM. I would see more, so it's fundamentally different from this being if you're going to be charitably describe it as a workers' convoy, a workers' movement, a working class protest or whatever. I think it's fundamentally different than what BLM is, which is for a type of civil rights that have been denied to them.
I just talk about the majority of Canadians being for the movement.
But what's
Right.
what's
Okay. So
the difference?
so I'm
what
saying
does the
this. I would
difference
say more
entail?
I would say more. There's more correlation between January 6th and the trucker convoy.
What does this difference entail? You bringing up this difference? What about it being different? Does that change anything for you, or?
I'm for all three protests. I'm not for anti. You keep framing this like I'm against any of the
Well,
protests.
it
I'm
just
not.
like well, when you say stuff like that, it seems like
I'm just saying
you're
you're
drawing a
literally
line.
talking about what the differences are.
got
So I'm
Mullet
talking
Man
about
on my team, bro. I'm
differences.
for it.
No,
You're asking me.
that-
It doesn't necessitate that I'm against any of the protests to fucking talk about the distinguishing factors of them.
okay, if you want to
Mullet
talk
Man's
about, I'm sorry, was that French?
Yes.
Mullet? No. Oh my God! I said Mullet Man's on my team. You think that was French? My God.
I heard Mollet.
No, Halfback, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, I didn't think the conversation was what are the distinct differences between the BLM protests and this trucker convoy. I thought it was
That was one of the
comparing
questions.
how the react. No, it's comparing the reactions to these two protests. Correct?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then my bad. Like, well, yeah.
You could probably talk about that.
What is the comparison? What comparisons are there between the trucker blockades and the recent U.S. protests, if any? And so that's why I went on my
Okay,
long tangent. People got pissed off.
My bad. Sorry. I in Mythic, my bad. That was the miscommunication I was having because I was talking about the reaction to these protests. I'm not talking about the actual protests themselves because we could talk all day about does BLM have legitimacy behind it? Does this protest have legitimacy behind it? Yeah, you could make an argument, but the problem is that these two protests were handled so differently. They're being reacted to so differently by the Canadian government. The Canadian government did not, react this way when the BLM protests were creating arguably, I know there's going to get a lot of people, arguably more damage and more shit.
Not in Canada, sir.
All right,
It's not a good comparison for Canada. Okay, sorry.
I want to let Mythic answer that because this was direct address to him. And after that, I want to throw it to Alesto and Maddie.
It's a very interesting thing when this convoy thing happened a couple of weeks ago. I heard it was racist people in the American liberalized mainstream media. What I heard is racist people protesting in Canada, something to do with trucks. They're honking. There's a couple There's a couple flags being flown or whatever. Therefore, bad equals racist, anti-mask chuds and trucks. That's the narrative I got. I immediately dismissed it. And I didn't look into it again. And I think that when we're talking about, number one, the media response and what differentiates them from BLM, I think most people agree with the intergenerational racism that Black people have experienced and recognize that to be a true thing. Whereas with specifically January 6th and the stolen election and with the workers' convoy, I don't think most people recognize those as valid things, number one. However, if those things were valid, if there was governmental tyranny, I would see it being broadly true and blah, 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 blah. I would agree that that's the dissimilarities of them, and the media treatment of both those things, January 6th and the media where they were brushed away as just racist people. And I would say that there was a lot of people who are racist who happen to be there, maybe. There's a lot of yellow, the safety, whatever, the yellow vest people in the Canadian iteration of the yellow vesters, and in America, like the Groypers, Trumpers, and a lot of the weirdos, a lot of the alt-light people. I think that there is a lot of racism there, but that's not the underlying reason why they were there necessarily. But that's the message you would have gotten from the media. So I think that would be both in one.
So the media lies all the time. That's nothing new. I mean, it takes the individual person to actually go in and look into these things, or discuss it like we're doing currently with sources and stuff like that. Now, I do have a slight little jab at Jim, if it's okay. So you said that there was weapons coming from Alaska, right?
No. That
Can
was,
you rephrase what you said, just so I know?
I was referring to the guys that had the weapons at Coots are part of a group called Diagolon. And they want to create a new country that starts at Alaska and goes diagonally all the way down to Florida. That's what that was. And I understand why that was confusing. I probably said that.
Apologize. I was about to jab you and say that's like a 70-hour drive. Like, come on.
We got guns in Canada. Believe me, we got some guns.
Hey, you got any there? Come on. What you got?
I got guns.
Since we're pivoting away from...
I got teenage children. That's the only reason I don't own a gun. I love guns and I want guns.
Oh, that's absolutely the time to have guns. Are you shitting me?
My kids are 18 and 19 and dumb as shit.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way I want them to have guns.
Well, then I guess you need to do a better job parenting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Most teenagers are dumb.
I want to throw it to Maddie Cakes.
Yeah, no, because I think like I think it's a interesting comparison to look at not only how the media has responded to BLM protests and how they've responded to the trucker protests, but also looking at in terms of like public perception and how it's talked about, what people highlight as problematic versus not. That's interesting. I think there were some people that were highlighting tweets from certain Fox News correspondents who were saying, you know, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're blocking traffic, you're a fucking asshole. Or you're, you know, like you're just fucking wrong and you're not going to make your point. And then recently, all of a sudden, the tune has changed saying, oh, well, I support the truckers and it's their right to block traffic and do this to make their point. And then in response, when people pointed out the hypocrisy was to say, well, it's only good when it's something I agree with. And I think that's sort of like saying the quiet part out loud is that for a lot of folks who condemned BLM protests, who condemn saying, oh no, that's how dare they go out and disrupt traffic or like disrupt the happenings of like a downtown area. How dare they? And then they turn around and support the trucker protest. I think it just highlights the hypocrisy where you're like, it's only bad if it's something I disagree with. Whereas I think
That's
for
on
the
both
most
sides,
part,
Maddie.
no, I agree. Like it's on both sides, but I also would agree that like when we're looking at this protest, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a leftist who supports seizing assets. I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who supports like mass arrests of people and like enabling the state to crack down because people are like peacefully protesting. Whereas with BLM, you guys just seemed a little quiet.
So
Yeah, but people relate.
All right.
The difference here, Maddie, between what you're talking about with BLM, right, and people actually getting out on the street and actually blocking traffic with their bodies, right, and the government
BLM did
itself,
that.
right, that's what BLM did, right? The difference there is that with the truckers, we have the government trying to enforce a mandate on them, and they are the ones that specifically deliver all the goods and services between all the different hubs and places of business that these things have to be delivered to. So when you're not listening to the people that are doing the specific job, that's a little bit different than BLM protesters that are fighting for a particular cause and how that ends up impacting commerce in those things, right? So most, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I just have a question. So you're saying, you know, they were being forced to adhere to the government. Do you think truckers should always have an updated driver's license?
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
and why is and that's mandated by the law, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's because presumably it shows that they can safely operate a vehicle because they're traveling all over the place, right? Like, so it makes sense for them to have an up-to-date driver's license. If they're going to be interacting with other people when they're delivering goods, if they're going to be like, you know, helping to load, unload their trucks, they're traveling all across the country. You don't think it might be a good idea to make sure that they aren't a petri dish of like spreading the virus further? You think it's okay? You don't
They are
see a
just
problem
Maddie,
like given
Maddie,
within their
Maddie,
specific.
really?
You're conflating so many
Y'all are
different
gonna
things,
have
Maddie.
to. Y'all are gonna have.
What are
Sorry.
you a driver's license then?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be government overreach?
Okay.
Right,
Wait,
Maddie.
wait.
Right.
CTV, wait.
Come-
The question was directly addressed to CTV, so I'm going to give it to him. But after that, I want to give it to Have Big Take and opening it after that. CTV, go.
Okay, so Maddie, specifically, right? You obtain a driver's license to be able to show your knowledge and experience at operating the vehicle, right? In which you're getting the license for. Your body being a petri dish is more of a conversation between you and a health professional, not a government mandate. That's specifically where the difference is.
So how about like if they're caught driving and they're not wearing a seatbelt and they get pulled over and are fined for that? You think like that is massive overreach and a violation of their human rights?
Well, no, obviously, right? Seatbelts come down to operation of the vehicle, and it's specifically and distinctly different, right, from the human body being a petri dish, as you so pointedly pointed out.
No, but like if they like shoot through the windshield, they get into an accident, they shoot through the windshield, like the truck was going to be fucked either way. It doesn't matter if they're wearing a seatbelt.
All right,
True.
I'm sorry
Like,
to
why-
cut.
that's
I have
why-
to cut this little lecture in short. Sorry, I just want to throw it to
Maddie.
have baked.
Maddie,
I'm just pointing out the
I just want to check your.
hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I just want to check. I just want to check your principles here. Would you put this to flu vaccines and every other vaccine that we have that like we basically put for fucking going to college?
Well, when I like, for example,
How
when
is
I
this
went to college,
boring?
I had to
I'm
no.
sorry
When I
to think
went to
this isn't
college, I
boring.
had to get no. When I went to college, I had to get a shit ton of vaccines. A couple of them are really fucking painful, but like you do it
Really?
because I understand that for me to be able to go somewhere to be in close proximity with a bunch of people my age, it is a public safety. Like there's a reason we
So
have public
yes.
health officials.
So yes, so truckers need to get flu vaccine every year. So you need to get a flu vaccine every year. You need to get every single vaccine across the board that could cause
I would say
any
here's
other
the
that could be
stipulation. Here's what I would
transmissible on
say.
any level.
Here's what I would
on
say.
any level
Here's
because
what I
you're
would
saying
say.
you're a threat
Could
to
I
other
answer your
people.
question? Could I answer your question?
I mean,
Go
you've been
ahead,
talking a
Maddie.
lot, but yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I know, but I'm so pretty, so it's okay.
True.
So what I would say,
Not my type,
thank you. Well,
Uh,
so what I would say is that in this case, we are talking about a virus that has, how many people died in the past 2 years? Just died from this horrible disease. I've been to multiple funerals for people that like had no previous health problems. And because of this, because they lived in areas of the country where people didn't take mask mandate seriously, like, and they were careful, and it rips at your heart. It rips your soul. No, and I'm talking honestly here. And I look at something like that, and I think, you know what? I don't think it's a massive overreach when we are dealing with the worst pandemic of our lifetimes, of our parents' lifetimes, of our parents' lifetimes, unless they were alive during the Spanish flu era. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for people to take necessary precautions. But when it comes to answer your question, when it comes to things like the flu and other things, there are certain professions and there are certain positions where you are required. And if you do not get the vaccine, then you are dismissed.
They're
And that is
required.
okay.
They're
But what
required
I
by the
think- but what
employer.
I think
They're
is that
required
when
by
we
the
are-
employer,
what I
not the
think is
federal
that we are
government.
dealing with a pandemic, but we're dealing with
No,
a
it's
fucking
not a novel
pandemic.
virus.
Millions have
Maddie.
died. Where
Maddie.
millions have died. So you think it's okay? So
Maddie.
you think live and let
Are you gonna
live. You
keep
think,
going?
you know what? We're gonna reach
Maddie,
herd
can I ask-
immunity.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking keep going. Do you have
Maddie,
anything of
it's
substance?
no
Wait, wait,
longer.
wait,
It is
wait,
no
wait.
longer.
Okay, have baked. Go.
Maddie, it's no longer a novel virus. So how can you treat it the same way that we treated it at the start of the pandemic?
Because we have.
Why are you
expert-
laughing
literally
at like I
everything.
bring a very smart point and you're gonna laugh at it because you're uncomfortable with me bringing like a
Maybe it's not smart.
Yeah.
Maybe have you ever
like-
considered your point may not be smart?
Mhm.
So
All right.
please, Big Jim,
He's never
is it
considered
a novel virus anymore, or do we have variations of it, and do we know about it, and have we studied it, or is it no longer a novel virus?
There's
Let
a
me ask
reason
you a
that the
question.
majority of public health experts, the majority, like the CDC, the World Health Organization, people who actually like study this for a fucking living, they all are in support of these measures. You sitting in your fucking bedroom, living room, whatever.
They've all
like,
been wrong
it-
for 2 years, and they've had to change their measures.
They've
to
been
the
wrong. Is that
measures
how
that
they
the
were able to
conspiracy
roll out a
theorists
vaccine
have
in
been
record
touting out
time?
this whole
Is that how
time.
they were able to roll out an mRNA vaccine for the first time in history after a decade of research?
It's impressive.
And they were able to
It's impressive.
consolidate all of their results. No, but I'm just saying,
But to
you're
do
saying
that by
everything's a
mandate
failure.
is
Things
not
are failure.
impressive. To
Nihilism
force it
is
on people
hot.
is not
fucking stuff.
impressive.
Like, please.
Blueberry,
Like,
blueberry.
Just because
To force
you're.
things on people is not impressive.
on
Call me
anyone.
Maddie.
If
My
vaccine
name is
was that great,
Maddie.
everybody'd want
My
it.
name is Maddie.
You're
You
a
can call me Maddie. You can call me Maddie
All right,
because
Maddie,
that's like
finish your
otherwise you're just
point.
being a fucking
And yeah.
playground bully, dude.
Yeah, like the thing with the name, like. Anyway,
That's
Maddie,
just shitty. Makes you look like an asshole.
Yeah,
All right.
blueberry. Come on.
Don't be sad, Chandler Vest.
If I hear the word,
Everybody
fuck-
call. Everybody in her chat. Call her blueberry.
listen, listen.
Yeah.
This makes you look like
And
an
that-
asshole.
Listen, right? You've pissed me off now, okay? If I fucking hear blueberry one more time, if I fucking hear it one more fucking time, try me, motherfucker.
all right,
I'm not
let's-
even joking.
We're not going to go there.
I mean, isn't blueberry pie really good? I like
It is delicious. It's
I
great.
like blueberry
Blueberries
pie.
have more antioxidants than like a lot of other fruits.
I
Fantastic.
hate
Blueberries
all
are
of
very
you.
refreshing in
This
cereal.
isn't a condemnation of blueberries. This is just saying, dude,
I
call
never
people by their
actually tried
fucking
that.
name. You can see it on Discord. Like, there's no need to resort to like fucking
Are
playground
you
bullshit where
embarrassed?
you're
Are
like,
you offended?
All right.
Are you offended?
Okay, can I answer the question that I got asked?
No.
It was from
I'm sorry.
Half-Baked Takes.
You know what? You're going to answer it in a second because we're going to go into closing statement because, like, yeah, this has officially gone off the rail. All right. Big Ugly Jim, you start.
Okay, so my answer to Half-Baked Takes question, which was, is this still a novel virus? I personally don't give fuck number one if it's a novel virus. I care about whether the public healthcare system can handle the load. And so, yeah, we're still in a position where that's a problem. Omicron fading is going to make that better. And then who knows what the future holds. The mandates are not preventing people from working. They're preventing people from crossing the border. Truckers can still work and are working, and truckers are doing great work, and I fucking love the truckers. I don't love the fascists who are co-opting that movement to try and dismantle my government. Funny that.
I'm glad it's that way in Canada because in U.S. until the mandates were
That's
Sorry.
not how we
It's closing
closing
statements.
Sorry,
Is
it's
this
closing
closing statements?
statements. So,
Yeah, everybody else shut the fuck up. It's closing statements.
All right.
Fuck.
Okay. Since the
Co-host
point-
got to fucking throw it out there, Will Stomach Geek, all right?
Since the point was addressed to Half-Baked Take, yeah, go.
My bad, Jim. Addressing this point seems. I understand what you're saying. I have a lot to say to it, but my biggest. This is not about vaccine, like the efficacy of it. It's strictly about the mandates. This has spiraled so many different ways. The way that the Canadian government has reacted to this protest, it seems ludicrous when the reaction to protests previous to it have not been this way. That was my only point. Yeah, I'll pass it off. Thank you, Geek.
All right. I'm going to throw it to Alistair.
So I'm gonna quickly with the protesting. Protesting good. When you start destroying things and hurting people, bad. Now, them doing with the economy, I'm kind of jaded on that a little bit. Now, with the mandates and everything, mandates are fucking terrible. And you want to bring up authoritarianism? That is authoritarian right there. I believe in freedom of choice, and that's it for me.
All right. I'm going to throw it to MythicPolitics.
When just speaking on what he just said, when you frame it as a freedom of choice, the vaccines enable people to free associate as they choose. So if everybody's vaccinated, people can associate freely, and they you can get rid of the mask, you can get rid of the mandates, and you can associate. So actually participating in a civil democracy sometimes necessitates getting a vaccine so you can fucking go about your goddamn business. That being said, I broadly support any and all protests. However, not all protests are created equally, and sometimes they're fucking dumb. But I don't support measures to crack them down because that'll stifle righteous fucking communists like me from fucking starting the revolution. And with that, I'll pass it.
All right. I'm going to throw it to TheSplonker.
I agree with the protests. I definitely agree that not all protests are created equally, so to speak. There are protests that I find ridiculous, but I always support, regardless of whether or not I agree with the point or the message that's at hand, what the people are protesting. I've always supported the right to protest. And right now, the demands are that the federal government terminate the vax passports and all obligatory vax contact tracing programs and whatnot, and to respect the rights of those who want to be unvaccinated to do so, so that we can manage our own risk. And I think there's a lot of studies that have been made that suggest that that's actually what we should be doing, is to do that. And I'm all for that. If businesses themselves want to implement vaccine mandates or restrictions to enter their own establishment, it's their property, it's their rules. I believe so. I believe they're entitled to do so. I wouldn't be as angry about it, but I also believe in individuals protest. Let's say it's your only grocery store that's implementing a vaccine mandate. We should be able to protest them as well and let our voices heard. So I don't actually agree with the logic behind the mandates as well. I think it's stupid, and that's my stance, I guess.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Medicate.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think to sum up sort of everything we were talking about, regardless of whether or not I agree with the reason they are protesting, I think it is government overreach to do things like freeze their assets, to subject them to like state violence in any capacity. I think that is a massive overreach, because one of the great things about not only the United States, but also Canada, is that you have the right to demonstrate. You have the right to stand up for what you believe in, whether it's like for unionization, whether it's protesting the unfair labor practices of something, whether it's something that has unfortunately been they led to from misinformation. It doesn't matter. Like, that's the idea behind freedom of speech, is that it doesn't matter if you agree with it, but you have to support our institutions that protect people from speaking their voice, from speaking truth to power, or maybe in this case, misinformation to power. But in any case, it is their right. And for the state to crack down in the way that they have is a massive overreach. And it's really concerning. Because if you're okay with it against people you don't agree with, like, it's going to happen to people you do agree with. You have to hold constant that ideal. You have to hold constant the human rights that are given to everyone, even if you disagree with them. So I guess I'll end with this. I hope that the people who are defending the truckers, who are defending this occupation or protest, I can only hope that you hold those same tenets true the next time there's a protest again for Black Lives Matter. I hope you stand up in the same way for workers' rights to the right to unionize, for factory workers walking out on their jobs and demanding better pay. I hope that this proves to be something that you hold constant.
All right, I'm going to throw it to Chance of Flurry.
Yeah, I mean, I support the truckers' protest. I support the right to protest. I support basically everything that they've asked for, which is ending the mandates. I'm against authoritarianism. I'm against the state, basically, in all its forms. I think that trusting the medical community is absolutely ridiculous, that history has shown us that we should do anything but put our faith in the medical community. And yeah, I'll just end it at that.
All right. And last but not least, if I'm not mistaken, CTV.
Now, I want to agree with everything that Maddie's saying, but I got to remember, I'm a conservative, right? So as a conservative, right, I understand that there is time and a place, right? Time and a place, right? See, I'm not the type of guy that puts his Speedo on and then walks into Walmart. See, I wear the Speedo at the pool or at the lake, right? I'm getting in the water, right? It's appropriate swimwear, but I don't go walking into Walmart. I don't go, walking through the street. It's not like that. It's got to be time and a place, right? So specifically with the truckers, since the mandates are being used against the truckers, right? That's where I feel like time and a place, right? We've got the truckers, right, are being forced by the government to get this vaccine, XYZ, right? They got to take time out of their life, right? They've now got to take that level of frustration, right, and then give it back to the people that are forcing this on them. So this is where, like, there's the distinction maybe between pedestrians out on the highway, right? Because I would be all for those pedestrians forming a fucking human wall around the building itself, right? And preventing any traffic in or out, and being really, really fucking difficult to make traffic for the government in and out of the building, right? Specifically, this is where I go to traffic by way of the trucks and them using the highway system, etc., since that's the ones that it's affecting. Time and a place, right? There's neat little organizations of these things. So I definitely am for people pushing back against their government whenever they have a grievance, right? And forcing a sit-down conversation so that it can get resolved. But it does come down to time and a place, right?
No.
And with that said, Mr. Geek, I feel like this has been a pretty entertaining show. What do you think, brother?
God damn, yeah. This has been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for
What about
everyone,
pee holes though? We didn't address pee holes.
yeah, we're
I'm
going to
so
get
We
excited.
gotta
into
do
it.
that one. We gotta do that one.
Okay, well,
I got
apparently.
stats.
All right, I'll try to make it short. Everyone in everyone's chat, go support our wonderful panelists. You know, go check out their solo content and everything. Show some love, show some sub, whatever you can. You know, and yeah, and also if this panel happened, it's because Danabo is doing a wonderful work behind the scene. So twitch.tv/Danabo, and
Right.
yeah,
I love Danabo. He's my hunk, actually.
Hell yeah. But so yeah, since everyone is excited about this topic, I'm not going to make you wait. Let me try to find it.
Can I start it off?
Yeah.
Did you guys know you have holes behind your knees?
Yeah, I saw you. Yep.
Yeah, they're extra
All right,
ports.
real quick, to put a little bit of context and to get into intro statement. All
Oh
right,
yeah, well yeah.
so we're going to end up on a fun topic, which is how many holes does a human have? And let's go with like opening statement with MythicPolitics.
Oh shit. Yeah, I thought this was just, I thought we were just going to dunk on Haas a little bit for the two hole theory thing. Oh shit, how many holes does a human head? Okay, let me fucking think about it real quick. So you got eyes, nostril, that's 4, a mouth, ears, 7. Fucking for me as a male, I have a butthole, I have a fucking urethra, that's, what is that, fucking 9? And apparently there's 2 behind my knees, so 11? I don't know. Is that the correct
Can
answer?
you run that Haas thing? Because I have no knowledge of that.
Haas
So
was on.
he
Go ahead.
thought, yeah, no, he thought that women or people who were born women with a vagina have 2 holes. He's like, oh, do you pee out of your butt? Because apparently he was not aware that people who have a vagina and an anus also have a urethra. Ain't that something? We got one too.
Yeah, you're not fucking
Everybody
the
got one.
pee-hole.
You got an urethra. You got an urethra.
The
Urethra.
Oprah
We
meme,
all
yes.
Shit,
yeah.
I just got a urethra.
The conversation
So, I
started
have-
from
Are we counting pores, skin pores?
That was my question. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of
Oh,
course.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to overstep you, Maddie.
Are we
Oh no,
counting
your
all
question too.
skin
It's our question.
all right, I want to go back.
It is
Sorry,
my
sorry.
question as well.
Okay. Wait, real quick. This got off track real quick. So I want to go back well in the opening statement. All right.
Sorry, geek.
But yeah, some context was needed. But anyway, Splonker, go.
Well, that's the thing. Same thing, right? Is that pores for me? I was gonna like shit on all of you and just say like the pores, man. You think of the pores, it's just millions and shit. But if you don't want to count the pores, those aren't holes, I guess. You know, I got my my nostrils. Filled holes, I think, count like holes. So, right, eyeballs, you know, the sockets. So those are holes. So 2, 4, 6. The asshole, my dick hole. I think that's about it. But I mean, when it comes to pores, I mean, I feel like that should count, and therefore it's I don't know. We can't know. But if we don't count pores, I listed them off there.
But are you sure about that?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure actually because of the knees. The back of the knees is something that
Well, you
I
also
just
forget
learned.
the Magnum foramen.
Anyway, Maddie, go.
Oh my gosh. I mean, God, if we want to go philosophical, we can define, well, what is a hole? There are
Exactly.
shallow holes. There's, you know, like what, maybe it's like a crater. I have my ears pierced in a few places. So like those are technically holes, but a hole doesn't have to go all the way through because like vagina doesn't go all the way through. It's not like a vortex where you come out on top of my head. That would be crazy. That'd be bananas. Talk about blueberries. That'd be bananas. And so I think, you know, maybe we can define like, well, is a hole just like a dent but like it goes down far enough to where we deem it a hole, or is it something where it's like, oh, stuff can get stuck in it, you can like a little pocket? Is that like how we're defining hole? So I think humans have infinite holes. I think
Infinite hole theory.
you know, infinite holes. Yeah, infinite hole theory. That's the name of my memoir, and I'm sticking to it.
So
Wow.
when
But,
since
wait.
we're
All right, have a big take.
The body has 2 holes. Everything else is an orifice. Sorry, get the fuck over it. The only thing that has an opening from the top to the bottom, your mouth and your asshole. 2 holes. Sorry, come at me.
All right. Chance of Flurry.
What about snorting?
Yeah, so for me, I think it's a little bit different than that. I think hole, again, there's a whole way of defining what is a hole, right? And how, like, are all our sphincters holes? Is it that maybe, like, it's only one hole because, you know, it's from your mouth to your asshole, right? Is that just one? Or are we counting entry and exit as, like, 2 different things, right? So there's a lot of ways that you can define the hole, right? So I think for me, I probably do fall closer to infinite hole theory than anything else. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, Big Ugly Jim.
Okay, so y'all are wrong. First off, the official answer is one more than Haas thinks. But the actual answer, if we're talking about how there's only 2 holes, there's a bunch of stuff in the way. It's not a hole, just like the vagina isn't a hole because there's stuff in the way. If you want to go with the idea that a hole is a point to point, then either piercings or getting shot are pretty much the things that you're going to get. My take on it is I would agree with the idea that pores are holes, that pupils are holes, nostrils are holes. I think that all holes matter.
Ernesto.
No, just hashtag all holes matter now.
Let's get it trending.
CTV.
Well, I gotta ask a clarifying question, everybody. You don't need to answer, right? But here's the clarifying question: is this stranger in or out of my home? Right? Because I feel like if I find them in my home, they're going to have a few more holes than what they came in with, right? So I think, you know, Maddie's infinite hole theory, right? I think that's where I'm going to have to line up.
Yeah.
Right? It's only limited to the amount of ammunition that you got, right? So infinite hole theory for the win.
Join the squad.
CTV turning people into Swiss cheese.
With that being said, the floor is yours.
What do you mean turning us into Swiss cheese? We've been Swiss cheese. We've been Swiss cheese.
I would not say.
We'll forever be Swiss cheese. We're sentient Swiss cheese. We're Swiss cheese with some bad opinions. Is what we are.
Maddie, so you believe in infinite hole theory, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm
No.
I'm
Can
proud
you just
to be
say
the
yes so I can just say
author.
we all are black holes?
Yes, unless you subscribe to Half Baked Takes point where it's not black holes. He is more of like wormhole theory, where it's only whole if it goes all the way through. We're the 2 main schools of thought in this area. And it's from the academic sense, it's very contentious.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's really silly for any of you to come in here and bring anything other than those 2 prescriptions.
Yep.
So
Yeah. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
But I think CTV's argument is a valid one, right? A gun hole goes all the way through, unlike the mouth or the asshole.
we can never have a legitimate conversation then, right? Because like we are always talking about, well, yeah, but then I could just punch a hole through you with a piercing or a gun, or with a fire.
You can definitely have a legitimate conversation. You make sure you call ahead of time. Let me know you're coming, right? And in that way, I meet you at the door and let you in. You come in any other way, right? Infinite hole theory for the win.
I'm going to turn my back to you, motherfucker, and then you're going to have a fucking hell of a time in court proving that shit. Come on.
What makes you think, right, that whenever I position you and you fall over with this arm under, and you know what? Let's just not get into how, right? You get past CSI, okay? But you know what?
Don't you travel the country? You play a dangerous game, sir. The fucking the self-defense laws are not the same state to state, sir.
I don't know.
I might catch you in New York. You don't know.
You
Polls
might.
are a philosophical concept, okay? Hence why they'll appear and disappear. That might be there one day, the next day it's not. One day it was an orifice, the next day it was a hole. And an orifice is just a hole with a top hat. It's just a fancy hole. So I think, that the only thing that ties all of this together is infinite hole theory. All holes are created equal. All holes matter. All holes matter.
I don't know if they're created equal, right? And I'll demonstrate it like this, right? I'm gonna hand you a shovel until you start digging a hole, right? You tell me when it's a big enough fucking hole, okay?
It's gonna be a great
we're getting
hole.
back to the Haas thing where we're
It's gonna
talking
be the
about like
best
another
hole.
time.
Yeah, let's go back to the
I'm gonna.
Which
Right.
hole does matter to some people?
I think we've all had that
A
moment
little
where we
bit.
realize that
I would say I think that matters a little bit
Yeah.
to some people. What hole
Yeah.
we're talking
Shame on
about?
you. Shame on you.
Wait, why are you king shaming
No,
right now?
all
Halfbake?
holes.
Yeah,
Listen,
king shaming. I like
would
that.
never.
Wow.
I would never king shame. I'm just an advocate for
Each their
consent.
own. I'm just
You know what I
saying,
mean?
not
Call
preference.
it.
No,
you-
Blueberry was king
Come
shaming.
on.
I can't believe it.
I may be
Personally,
half-baked takes, but it's not a hot take to say I'm pro consent.
Mm.
But
So
take on all comers on that
I
one.
don't know. Listen, I like to root for the underdog. So, I root for the holes that don't always have a voice, that
well,
don't
don't king
always
shame,
have a
that's all.
champion, I'm trying to fight for them. They deserve their day in
What
the
hole?
sun.
Maddie,
Just
Maddie,
say
I got it, Maddie,
Batman.
Maddie, I got to
Maddie,
stop you
what
right.
hole?
Look, no,
Okay,
hold on,
okay,
Maddie.
Please enlighten
Hold on.
me.
Trust
please,
me.
Maddie.
Trust me, Maddie. Look, I can't tell you how many times I wish that asshole behind me would just stop talking shit sometimes, right? So I'm just saying, right? Like sometimes they just need to shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying?
CTV. I'm getting married this summer, and CTV's relationship is such an inspiration.
So how do you clean these holes?
Oh boy.
Mm.
Well,
Do you
so
bleach
all
them?
holes are different. All holes are different and all require different
Different
maintenance.
care for different holes.
Yeah.
exactly.
Do we use different perfume?
Well, like
Different
your
from-
eye
I mean,
holes,
when
I
the
would assume
occasion
yours
calls
is-
for it. When the occasion calls for it, sure. But, as Half Baked Takes pointed out, with consent. So, you
Wait,
just have to make sure that
if
you
I'm
have
trying to clean
consent.
my eye hole and it's not consenting, is it consenting?
That's something you'd have to ask your eye hole. I don't want to get in between a man's relationship with his eye hole. That's not my place. That's a sacred bond. So I don't want to impose, but that you could talk to your doctor.
Does
That
the
would-
eye hole consent
No.
to having an eye, though? So
I would say that
Mm.
if you're having a problem because you want to clean your eye hole and your eye hole doesn't want to be cleaned, I think that it's not even a doctor you need to talk to. It's probably a psychiatrist.
Yeah, my eye holes they're pretty clean, from what I can tell.
well, how do you know?
I know, right? No,
How do
but
you
I
check
think
that?
pores are holes. Where hair comes out everywhere, those are holes. Maybe you have more than one hole in your ear, and you have to get a canal put through. Some people have holes in their teeth. Those are called cavities. There are so many holes. And holes
all
are
right,
I thought
holes
those-
are what
I
make
think-
the world go round.
I think we explored this hole for far too long. So
Geek, I'm so
Are
sorry.
you trying to limit our conversation?
exactly,
That's
I am
very-
censoring this
Wait,
bitch.
we're having a passionate
What he's
conversation
trying to
about
There you
say,
go.
what Geek's trying to say is that this hole is getting kind of slippery, and we don't want to fall too deep in. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, and on top of that,
Yeah.
it's puppy time, which is absolutely perfect.
Time to pull out of this hole.
So
Yeah, I don't have a thought.
Oh my gosh,
Anyway,
those dogs
let's
are so
go
cute.
into you know what, like closing statement if you want, but like mostly like basically shout out, tell people where they can find you and everything. And also I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight. Really had a blast. Yeah, exclamation point guest in my chat to have like the list of guests where you can find them and everything. Go check out their solo content.
Okay.
And with that being said, yeah, let's start closing statement. Shout out with MythicPolitics.
This was fun. I enjoyed yelling at the guy with the sweater. Thank you so much for being a good for not holding that against me for very long. You look very dapper. Thank you so much. I appreciated your anti-vaccine takes. They were very funny. Shout out to everybody. I broadly enjoyed this. I love you. Mwah. Hold on. No, this is my statement, sir. And I look forward to doing this again. And thank you so much for having me. And Mythic Politics everywhere.
Happy to have you on board. Splonker.
I mean, he just slander. I mean, slander, right? You're not against any slander, right? I've stated during this show that I'm not anti-vax. So, I mean, people like to lie on your show, Mr. Whoever's Hippy Dippy over here. I don't appreciate it. So I just would like to thank everybody. You've all been a good sport. Thank you, Geek Man, and thank the Blueberry for being a good sport. I've called you names. Thank CTV because he got mad at me for calling out just saying blueberries. I apologize. And I love you, Mullet Man. Finally, the Mullet Man. Mullet Man is my fucking favorite. Next.
All right, Maddie.
This was fun. Thanks, guys. And I'd like to personally apologize to Geek for making the first fun topic contentious right out the gate. That's on me. But yeah, no, I mean, I had a good time. I think a lot of good points were brought up. I mean, God, there are cats on stream. There are puppy dogs on stream. What more do you people want? That's good content. So yeah, and CTV, your cat is so freaking cute, and it clearly just wants to like cuddle with you, and I'm jealous. But yes, MaddieCakes _ on Twitch, on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Madsmaru, spelled MADSMARU, and this was really fun. Thank you, Danabo. Thank you, Geek. Thank you, CTV.
Always happy to have you on board. Have Baked Take.
Thank you guys at the Hippy Dippy crew, Geek, CTV, Danabo, all you guys for putting this shit on. Thank you, panelists, for being good sports. All love to you, even if I'm a dickhead. And yeah, you can find me at Half Baked Takes everywhere.
All right, Big Ugly Jim.
Massive thanks to Danabo and all the Hippy Dippy folks. I've really enjoyed this panel. This is my first time ever doing one of these, and you can tell because I'm so shy and awkward. I want to thank Chad for calling me a communist and commenting on my roof, which is shitty. And yeah, you can find me on Twitch, a Big Ugly Jim, and you can find me other places, but it's kind of awkward because I'm not a big stream Andy.
All right, Chance of Flurry.
Yeah, my name's Carl. You can find me and TheSplonker here at Chance of Flurry. We both come at things from a different perspective, but that's what makes it fun. And we do a lot of React Andy content, which we think is great. We explore all those deep holes as long as they're consenting, right? We'll dive into any hole that's there, right? So come and join us for those dives.
All right, Ernesto.
Hello, everyone, and I wanted to personally say thank you to Geek and Danabo. My name is Alesto. It's ALESTO. I used to game back before I got my medical licenses that I have and my certifications that I have. Currently, that's my life. That's all I've been doing for the past, well before COVID. And if you want to game or play any games, come on and shoot me a message. Currently, I'm playing Escape from Tarkov. So if you got it, let me know.
All right, and last but not least, CTV.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode of the Hippy Dippy Recruitment Show, hosted by Mr. Geek and co-hosted by myself. It's been a riveting show filled with lots of comedy, excitement, and dare I say, adventure. For not only the panelists, but those in chat as well. The emotional journey that we've all taken tonight, I am sure, has uplifted the spirits of everyone that has heard it. And for that reason, I want to point out one fact. It was, in fact, the uncle and aunt of Twitch politics that carried this thing tonight, right? This is why, Maddie, I think you and I should have a conversation about a potential tag team, right?
I would love that. Oh my God, CTV. I've always
And-
said that me and CTV are the Twitch politics. I'm the weird aunt, and he's the like crazy uncle.
And I'm thinking we should call the tag team the Birthday Buddies.
we're gonna do it. You guys, we have the same birthday, so
So I want to say, like I said, I want to say thank you to everybody. Maddie and I are going to have a conversation about that here in a little bit. And yeah, Geek, it's been a good show tonight, man. It's been a great fucking show.
Yeah.
you
that was
did a
pretty
really
cool.
good job, even when you were mostly upset at us.
Listen, it's in the moment. As long as I'm yelling French, everything is right. But yeah, thank you all for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. And yeah.
Gardez le réfrigérateur.
Bye.
Flocon de maïs, pamplemousse.
Au revoir, mes amis.
What he said.
À bientôt.